Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects. I hope you're all doing wonderfully today. Just to let you guys know, in case you're new, a couple times per week, I like to come out here and answer any type of cloud architect career questions you may have. So if you're looking for that first cloud architect job, or you want to know how to get your first cloud architect job, or if you're looking for cloud architect career development, that's why we have these calls. See, I remember what it was like when I first started my technical career, and I didn't know where to go for information, and I made a lot of mistakes. So if you're looking for AWS career tips or solution architect career tips, or how to become a cloud architect or a network architect, or how to build your technology career in general, that's why we're here, and that's why we're coming to you, so that we're in a position to answer your questions. 25 years ago, when I moved into tech, all the advice I got was get this certification, this certification, this certification. And I did it. I spent a fortune. I spent $20,000 on certifications back in 1998. And you know what? None of it yielded anything. But I did start my career because I was lucky enough to get some really, really great advice from some professionals in the technology space. And I feel it's important to pay that forward. And because of that, that's why we're here doing this. So bring us any cloud architect career questions or cloud computing career questions, or any tech questions you have about building your career, because we want to make you successful. That's really all we're about, is about building careers. My perspective is, I just want to get you cloud hired. In fact, that's our motto, is cloud hired, because every single day I've got a student that gets hired. And let me tell you, I've had a lot of technology careers. I've worked as an engineer, as a network engineer. I've worked as a network architect. And let me tell you, being an architect was really, really great. And in fact, I've been working on cloud computing systems so long, I can't even remember. The first cloud I worked with was a frame relay cloud, and that was in 1996 or 1997. The next cloud I worked with was an ATM cloud around 1998, 1999. The next cloud I worked with was this RFC 2547 multi-protocol BGP cloud. The cloud after that was VPLS, and then we started moving our network in the data center out, and then we just stuck some servers in there and some storage, and it's just the new version of the old thing. Kind of like the Rolling Stones song, Meet the New Boss, same as the old boss. When we're talking about cloud computing, it is very common, very mature. Network and data center, it's just completely virtualized. So these are the things and what we do, why we do. I'm starting to see some people smile. Hello from Port Pierce, Florida. Wow, hello from Port Pierce, Florida. I'm not that far away from you. I'm sitting here in Port St. Lucie right now. So welcome, LA Mix. It's so nice to have you. So let's start answering some questions. Welcome, Jesse. Welcome, Giovanni. Welcome, Tide. Welcome, Daniel. I'm so happy to see you here. LA Mix Monica in Fort Pierce. Welcome, local friend. It's so good to see you. Daniel Mitra, let's bring up your question first. Hi, Mike. Thanks for this session. What type of cloud architects are there typically in the banking space? What a great question, Daniel. There are a lot of positions in the financial space, both in the financial world and the fintech space. So let's actually talk about what they are. So when you're dealing with cloud architect positions, you've got a lot of variation. At the very bottom, at least of the salary scale, but a very critically important job, is this kind of technical architect. And a technical architect isn't really an architect at all. A technical architect or a technical solution architect is really an engineer. And what happens if you've got an engineer that's really, really great and really, really, really smart, and you don't know what to put them, they don't have the communication skills to be like a cloud architect. They don't have the communication skills to be a business leader or an enterprise architect, but they're really, really smart and they're really capable and they're your masters of technology. You make them a technical architect or a technical solution architect. So that's one kind. But mind you, Daniel, the technical solution architect is going to be the lowest paid, hardest working, really good technical professional. So Daniel, as you move up in the realm, the next thing would be your solution architect. And your solution architect is pretty much an architect, meaning there's someone that's going to be asking those business questions, determining the business, the legal, the regulatory environments, and designing a solution to make the bank more profitable. Maybe process trades faster in an algorithmic trading platform, maybe be able to purchase faster than the competitors so they can buy a stock or sell a stock. at a price before the market's been manipulated. So that's more your solution architect. Great role. Your solution architect would be connect the bank's data center to AWS or connect it to Azure. Now, Daniel, as you move up the list, the next thing along the line as it comes to salary and it comes to job role is going to be your cloud architect. And your cloud architect is going to be a much better business person than your solution architect. The cloud architect is really going to start to understand what's going on. And they're a cross between an enterprise architect, which we'll talk about next, and a solution architect, which was the previous one. A good cloud architect has got good business acumen and really strong executive presence, emotional intelligence, computing skills. They're leaders. They understand how to transform a business with technology, and the good cloud architect knows how to use multiple clouds. In today's world, you'd have to be crazy to just put your environment on a single cloud. Very few people are crazy enough to do that. The reality is in today, we're dealing with hybrid clouds and multi-clouds everywhere. Nobody ever would have designed a network with just one service provider per WAN bandwidth, and nobody in today's world would be crazy enough to use a single cloud, just like AWS or just like Azure or just like GCP. You need hybrid clouds and multi-clouds. So that's the next thing, Daniel. That's what your cloud architect is going to do. Now, if you want to start moving up these architect roles, the next role, which I've spent a lot of time, which is my favorite of the bunch, is actually an enterprise architect. And at the enterprise architect, we're getting much less technical, but we're getting much more business. And at the enterprise architecture world, we're spending our lives in the C-level world and the VP and the SVP level. And we're all about business transformation. And technology is our vehicle for doing that. So as you can see, when we go from the engineer to the technical solution architect to the solution architect to the cloud architect and now the enterprise architect, you're noticing the pay goes up dramatically. But as that pay goes up dramatically, it's the executive presence that's going up. It's the communication skills. It's the business acumen that's going up. The technical skills, as we go up the pay scale, are actually going down. So those engineers are going to be the most technical. The technical solution architects are going to be the second most technical. The solution architects are going to be the third most technical. The cloud architect is going to be the fourth most technical. As you see, they're getting less and less. The enterprise architect is getting much less technical, much more business. And then there's the other kind of architect role that I've had that's called the business transformation architect. And this is like one level above the enterprise architect. And at this level, and I've loved doing this, we're all about transforming the business. It's all about business transformation. But here we might be redesigning business processes. We may be redesigning technology processes. We may be looking at digital transformation, people transformation, bringing in different people with different backgrounds. These are kind of the things, realistically speaking, that we're talking about. So, Daniel Mitra, these are the types of roles that exist for cloud architects in the banking space, and they're all good, every last one of them. And I've done them all. Jesse, if you want to bring in the next question. Tide, would it be a good idea if after a couple months working at Health Jobs to take your program, or should I do something else before that? Tide, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. The average cloud architect earns $600 a day, and a good one can easily earn double that or more. So why would you work in help desk for a few months before taking a program? If you work in help desk for 6 months, and a help desk salary is about $80,000 to $100,000 less than a cloud architect, it's going to cost you $50,000 if you do it that way. So I strongly would recommend just taking the program and getting there. So shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Help desk will not help you as a cloud architect, and here is the reason why. Now, I'm not going to say don't take a help desk job. If you need a job, take a help desk job, and help desk will pay you. And it looks good, but here's the thing. Help desk is about break fixed, meaning something's broken, you fix it. Something's broken, you fix it. Architecture is about system design. We don't fix anything. We don't troubleshoot anything. And we don't configure anything, Tide. So all those skills in help desk, while still good because you're learning some technology, aren't really relevant. Now, the only good part of help desk that I can say transfers, Tide, is when you work in help desk, for example, people call, I'm really angry, my computer's bad. Now, what you have to do in help desk is you have to take that really angry, nasty person and make them smile. Now, that means developing emotional intelligence, which is a highly useful skill for a cloud architect. So, Tide, if you wanted to ask me what I thought was valuable about help desk, it's the same thing that I think is valuable about customer service. You have to diffuse challenging situations. So because of that, I think help desk does give you some good experience. But please understand, it has nothing to do with the tech. The experience that you get in help desk will have nothing to do with helping you as an architect. But that experience of dealing with people and dealing with angry people in customer service or help desk, I think would be very good. Fastest thing, just take the program. If you've got the tech background, and 4 months later, you'll be hired. If you don't have a tech background, in 8 months, you'll be hired. Far faster than it will be to try and even find a help desk job. Now, I also, Ty, don't recommend looking for help desk jobs for the following reasons. In today's environment, the economy is tight. The labor participation rate, meaning the number of people that are actually working, is the lowest it's been in a very long time. So when we look at unemployment numbers, what we see is if the number doesn't look so bad, but a lot of people have given up searching for jobs. Now, what has happened in the tech industry is as we've automated things, and we've done a lot of automation, all those entry-level jobs, and help desk is one of them, they've kind of gone away. So what happens is I used to hire an entry-level person to like take a server, rack it, stack it, install the operating system. And that took hours of time. But you know what? I don't need that anymore because I can do it in 3 seconds in the cloud with 3 mouse clicks, or less with a couple of commands, or even less from a DevOps engineer. So what you'll notice is these help desk jobs are going to be harder to get than an actual cloud architect job. So any of these entry-level jobs are harder to get. So I say just upskill yourself, Tide. I never worked in help desk. My first job was a senior engineer, and I was a lead architect within 6 months. If you enjoy help desk and you want to do help desk, I think it's great. But I think like anything else, shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. You want to be a doctor, go to medical school. Now, you could choose to be a doctor and become an EMT first, and then a paramedic next, and then a nurse, and then a physical therapist, and then a pharmacist, and then a doctor. And you could do that, and that's great. But it might take you 50 years to get to the destination versus, like just as if you went straight to school. So realistically speaking, there's that, so that's my perspective of that. So I've got young people that I get through the program. They get hired. Now I'm going to tell you, it's harder when somebody is young than when they're older, but we still do it all the time. And you never know. For example, I have someone that's still in college right now. In fact, he's so smart. He's so capable. He's so motivated. In fact, I liked him so much that I had him do an internship that I hired him. And he's right now on this call. And he's literally running the batters for me right now because my COO is actually away. So my point is go after your dreams. I don't care what they are. You want to be a doctor? Go be a doctor. You want to be an architect? Go be an architect. Don't let anything get in your way and go straight to your goal. That's how you conquer your dreams. And go conquer those dreams, Tide. I think you'll do great. Jesse, if you want to bring in the next one. Samia Brada Choudhry. Hi, I've been working as a QA consultant for the 7 years trying to move to cloud computing. Clears the AWS Cloud Practitioner, prepping for the AWS Solution Architect now. Looking for further mentorship. Well, we've got a program that is a complete and total mentorship program. And, we can help you with that. So I want to make sure that you understand the difference between certification and actually getting cloud hired are so far apart. Now, I have every one of my students graduate with an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. And why is that? In my mind, in today's world, that's kind of your entry-level cloud computing certification. I know people think it sounds complicated, but I got to tell you, you take a really good cloud architect, you give them a book, and within 2 days, they can pass that exam because it's quite simple from an architecture perspective. Now, what is AWS training and what is AWS certification? Certification is, in today's world, simply, here's the name of a service like S3, and here's how to configure it. Name of a service, how to configure it. Name of a service, and how to configure it. And here's the thing. So as architects, we don't configure anything. And we don't care about the name of the service. In fact, learning it that way makes it so hard to be a cloud architect. If I teach you what a virtual machine is, then you can go to Google and pick something from Compute Engine, and you can go to AWS and get an EC2 instance, and you can go to Azure and get a virtual machine. And if it's the Palo Alto cloud, the Dell cloud, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to you. But if you learn it the AWS way and you know what Elastic Compute Cloud is, But you know it's an instance, but you don't know that it's a virtual machine, and you don't know the virtual machine technologies and the hypervisors, and guess what? It'll become impossible to get hired. So if you're a QA consultant, realize you're going from the deepest technical role in the world to the least technical role of the bunch. So what you need to do is learn the network and learn the data center and learn them in depth. Then focus on the cloud, which is a virtualized network in the data center. Then focus on developing your executive presence, emotional intelligence, communication skills, leadership skills, business acumen. That's the further mentorship you need. Becoming an architect is not about being more technical. It is not technical. In fact, if you study the wrong thing, Sambriata, it will hurt your ability. For example, I have people that want to be cloud architects and they're learning Python, or they're learning DevOps, or they're learning SysOps. That makes it about 10 times harder for me to get them hired. So what has to happen, Mr. Chowdhury, is we're trying to build the brand of an architect. And here's the brand of an architect. It is a business executive with a technology background. It is a business executive with so much tech knowledge that they can use the knowledge of the tech to transform the business. But remember, we are not engineers. We do not configure. We do not code. We do not do SysOps, which is maintenance. We do not do DevOps. These are completely separate careers. Some of these careers, like DevOps, are amazing careers, but they are very separate careers. So the mentorship is the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Learn the network, learn the data center, learn the cloud, learn business acumen, communication skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, presentation skills, ROI modeling. That's your mentorship. That's what's going to get you hired. So if you've got more questions, I'd love to answer them. In the meantime, Jesse, if you want to bring in the next one, or I'm not sure if the people that we answered the questions had follow-up questions. Giovanni, you've got a cloud-related interview for a few days that you're underqualified for. Any tips? Yes. I'll give you a couple tips. In general, the first tip is don't apply for jobs you're not qualified for. And here's the reason. Most likely, when people apply for jobs they're not qualified for, they get rejected, and it does two things. It causes a psychological challenge in the candidate, which makes them less likely to succeed on the next one. And when you interview for a company and you're not ready for it because you're underqualified, they may blacklist you and never interview you again. So nothing good comes from applying for a job that you're not ready for. But if you're not ready for the job and you still got the interview, you can't back out right now. So let's talk about what you can do. First, when it comes to getting these interviews, 50% of your score is related to your soft skills, emotional intelligence, likability factors, and 50% is related to your technical competency and capabilities. Given that you've got a few days, you're not going to get your technical abilities that great in the next few days. You just can't unless they're already great. So focus on being more likable. Learn a little bit of neuro-linguistic programming so you can learn how to create rapport by design in the beginning of that interview. Research the interviewer. So again, you can try and find some common ground to create some rapport. Watch those interview preparation videos I have, and there's about 20 of them. One of them talks about a shut down the interview technique, where if you're lucky enough to get a question you know a lot about, how to shut down the interview so they don't ask you any more questions and you get hired. The next thing is how to address questions that you don't know the answer to. So let me tell you, Giovanni, what do hiring managers want in an employee? Because if you know what they want in an employee, you know what you're going to be able to do? You're going to be able to be what that hiring manager wants. And if you can be what that hiring manager wants, let me tell you, you're more likely to get hired and you're more likely to be paid more. So what does the hiring manager want? First and foremost, technical competency. That means the ability to do the job. It has nothing to do with your experience. The next thing, Giovanni, that employers care about is they want someone that they can trust. So ding, 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 this is your secret when you're underqualified. I'm going to tell you what 99% of people do on a job interview. I've interviewed 5,000 people. 4,950 have lied to me. The first thing we need is someone that can do the job. And the second most critical thing to hiring managers is someone that can trust. So here's what's typically going to happen. Please describe block storage to me. Storage in blocks. It's your hard drive. Now, when I hear something like that, I'm not hiring this person. Not at all. But what you might hear is the blocks have numbers and the blocks are like Legos and that's where your data is stored and they keep blocking. People will lie. They'll just make it up. Now, here's the thing, Giovanni. We don't ask questions to things we don't know the answers to. So if I ask someone an honest question and it's a competency question and they lie to me, the interview's over. In fact, it's so over so fast. You know what I do? I have a box of cookies that I keep in my office. I don't need sugar and I don't need cookies. And the second I interview someone and they start to lie to me, I offer them a cookie. Because at this point, I just want to make the interview a good experience for them. I'm not going to hire them. Nobody will hire anybody that lies to them. So if you get asked a question that you don't know the answer to, Giovanni, here's what you say. You say, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that technology yet, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, and I love technology. But I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet, and I want to be open and honest with you. But you know what, Mr. Hiring Manager or Mrs. Hiring Manager? I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things quickly. And if I was part of your team and this was important, I would do anything and go way above and beyond to make sure that I was an expert as soon as possible. But I just want to build a great relationship with you from the start. So I want to be honest. This is not something I've had a chance to work with yet. Now, if you want to, and then you say, if you want to check my competency, I want to let you know that I know a lot about X, Y, and Z. Why? Here's what you did. Now let's go back to what the hiring managers want. First, they want someone that can do the job. Then they want someone they can trust. Then they want someone that is competent and safe so they don't make mistakes. Then they want someone that's energetic and enthusiastic. Then they want someone that brings out the best in others, someone that's a team player, and someone that's willing to go above and beyond. So when you don't know and you say, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet, you just told them that you're honest. And then if you say, but I'm energetic and I'm enthusiastic and I love tech, you've hit those qualifications, those things that hiring manager really wants. Then when you tell them you know what you know and know what you don't know and you can find the answers to things quickly, you hit that safety thing that people are worried about. Players are always worried about safety. I've seen billion-dollar outages before. You know what? Last week I saw a $7 or $8 billion outage with Facebook due to a BGP mistake. So the point is that's why organizations want these things. Now, when you told them you would do anything above and beyond to learn it if it was important, look what you did. You just told the hiring manager everything they want. So when you're not related, have these answers prepared. Be prepared to answer 3 technologies that you know well and be able to talk about them for 3 to 5 minutes in the frame of what is the technology, how does the technology work, and why does an organization use the technology, meaning the organizational benefit. 2, have these questions prepared. Tell me about yourself and why should I hire you? You should have this answer prepared. Tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. You should have some good strengths and a real honest weakness, but not a weakness that's a showstopper like I'm lazy, because that'll keep you from getting hired. So you need to do that. Then you realistically need to have an answer prep for a time that you had a problem with someone at work, as well as, have an answer prep for a big challenge that you dealt with. Prepare. And then you'll maximize your chances for success. But as a rule, don't interview for a position you're not ready for, and because of all the other reasons. But you've got an interview. Let's maximize this interview, and let's hope we can get you cloud hired. So, any more questions? I'd love to answer them. Please feel free to ask the questions. Life Tech Sleep 911. Hi, Mike. Instead of jumping into DevOps and DevSecOps, what feeder roles and certificates would you recommend I entertain by working my way up to the roles? So, Life Tech Sleep. The question for me is, what job do you actually want? So, if you want DevOps, don't stop anywhere along the way. Go for DevOps. In fact, I got to tell you, if you want to drive to the mall, don't take a flight. Let's say you're in Florida like me. If I want to go to the mall, I'm not going to go to Europe, and then I'm not going to go to South America and then Asia on the way to the mall. I'm going to go to the mall. So, learn the role. So, if you want to do DevOps, here's what you need to understand. DevOps is a great career, but you have to be a developer first. So if you're not a developer, I wouldn't really think about DevOps. In fact, if I wasn't a developer, I'd think about cloud architecture roles instead of DevOps roles. Why? Because they pay 2 to 4 times a DevOps role at the higher levels. So I'd say if you're not a developer, then don't do DevOps, because you really need to be a good developer before starting into DevOps. So development first, And then DevOps is optimizing the software release cycles. So if you wanted to do DevOps, study DevOps. Learn Kubernetes, learn Jenkins, learn Spinnaker, learn, literally speaking, all of it. All of those things. Make sure you can code. Make sure you know Python. Make sure you know Node.js. Make sure you know YAML. These would be the things that I would do if I was interested in DevOps. And if I was interested in DevSecOps, I'd learn security too. So these are the kind of things. Now, when it comes to certificates, I got to tell you, I'm about getting people hired. Certifications used to get people hired. But after Udemy and after, these, I don't want to call them, and after these courses that basically taught someone the name of a service and how to configure it, and that's what certifications training's been, you can have thousands of certifications and not get hired. So instead, look, if you want to get some certifications, do so. Get a Kubernetes certification. That's a good one. Get a certified solution architect professional, because that's your basic intro to the cloud one. Get a DevOps professional one from AWS. That's your DevOps certifications. But long before that, make sure you know DevOps, because in that DevOps professional and that certified solution architect professional, they're not going to teach you DevOps. They're going to teach you how to configure some stuff in enough for exam, but you won't learn DevOps there. You won't learn anything related to DevOps there. So you want to learn DevOps, start learning Git, start learning Jenkins, start learning Spinnaker, start learning all of those DevOps tools, and you can easily get a list of those DevOps tools. And make sure you're a developer. And if not, make sure you want to learn to code. I actually think DevOps is such a good career. In fact, moving forward, I see about 5 to 10 careers that I see as good, and DevOps is one of them. I feel like it's so important that my friend Sandeep and Oz we're collaborating to create a How to Get Your First DevOps Job program. And realistically, the key is I am an expert at getting people getting hired. Whether it's their first tech job or getting them promoted, I'm an expert. I can take a landscaper and get them a cloud architect job in 6 months. I've done it time and time again. That's my world. I'm great with career transitions, but I am not a DevOps engineer. It's so not me. I went from medicine to lead architect in a matter of 6 months. I am great at career transitions and getting people hired. But the key is this. I am not a DevOps engineer. So Sandeep Daz, who's a wonderful DevOps engineer, and I are collaborating to build the best How to Get Your First DevOps Job program. And we'll be releasing that inside of 3 months. Tide, wonderful. I'm so glad we were able to answer your question. Chris, I'm sorry, Jesse, if you want to bring in the next question. AK, how can you learn ethical hacking? Well, what a great thing. If you want to learn ethical hacking, you don't have to go very far. Download Kali Linux and start practicing the Kali Linux tools, and you'll learn ethical hacking. Now, I'm going to say this. There is one certification regarding ethical hacking that I like. In fact, there's actually 2 of them. The first one that I actually like, and I really like it, is the Certified Ethical Hacker Master. Now, here's the thing. I'm not Mr. Certification, but I like certifications that have a lab. So there's a CEH, there's a written test. It's no big deal. But there is also, there is, there is that practical exam. And that's what makes it the CEH Master. And the answer is that is what's really going to get you there. So the CEH Master or the Offensive Security Professional. But start playing with Kali Linux first. Just buy the book for the CEH Master or the Offensive Security Professional and go study. Learning ethical hacking is great. Get yourself a 16-core server at home like I have for my students. Set up a couple of virtual machines in this 16-core server. Create a Kali Linux system and go hack into those systems, and you will have a ball. And it will be really, really, really fun. And it will be the greatest experience ever. So that's how I would learn ethical hacking if I was you. Matthew Agimo, you're currently taking a DevOps course and AWS training is part of it. Can you take a solutions architect job and get an entry-level job with it? No. I'm going to say this again. The AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional is not enough to get a solution architect or cloud architect job on its own. Not even a little bit. Now, Matthew, I don't know what job you actually want. And you're mentioning DevOps. And if you want to be a solutions architect, do not study DevOps. I mean it. If you study DevOps, it will have a 6-figure impact on your career negatively. So you have to really, so Matthew, please tell me the career you actually want. Because I work with people, and the hardest people for me to get hired are those with the sysops and DevOps backgrounds. In fact, in a lot of cases, what I have to do is I literally have to remove it from their resume because we have to rewrite the resume. So Matthew, tell me the job you want, what you want. But see, here's the thing. We architects are business transformation specialists. We are business leaders and executives that have to have great communication skills. DevOps engineers, I love DevOps engineers. They're about automation and releasing. Now, the problem is the DevOps engineers and the SysOps engineers have the perception of the executives of being unpleasant to be around, of having poor soft skills and more communication skills. People think of them as an engineer, whereas an architect is more of a business executive. So what happens when I get people that want to be cloud architects and they start taking DevOps training is the world sees them as an engineer and not an architect. And if the world sees you as an engineer, they're going to want you to work as an engineer. And if you work as an engineer, what's going to happen is you're going to get paid engineering wages, which is a half to a third of what a good architect could earn at the top. So I'd say figure out what you want, Matthew. If you tell me what career you want, I can help you get there. But figure out whether you want to be a DevOps engineer or a solutions architect. And then once you figure that out, then are you able to figure out what you need to learn. But right now you're learning two different careers. Now, if you wanted to be a DevOps engineer and you did the Certified Solution Architect Professional to just show that, for example, to just show that, you knew how to use the cloud, then that's fine. But realistically speaking, understand that if you want to be an architect, the more you go down the engineering rat hole, the lower your salary is going to be and the harder it's going to be to get you hired as an architect. I've been an architect for 25 years, never did DevOps. I recently had about 30 students of mine get hired in the last month or so. None of them have ever done DevOps. None of them have ever done SysOps. And those that did, that had those skills, we had to remove them from the resume. Because prior to me, they had interviewed with 10 and 20 companies and they weren't getting hired. We got rid of all that DevOps. We got rid of all that SysOps. We spoke to the hiring managers directly, found out exactly what we wanted, and we got them hired. But Matthew, it takes me, for people with a tech background, 250 hours beyond the Certified Solution Architect Professional to get people hired of training. So 20 of our hours is the Certified Solution Architect Professional, and it takes me at least 250 hours more to get someone hired. The Certified Solution Architect Professional exam is just too basic for the job. Plus, Matthew, the problem is these AWS exams are the name of the service and how to configure them. But we architects don't configure, we design, and there's no elements of design in the Certified Solution Architect, Associate, or Professional. So hope I answered your question there. Now, Matthew, if you've been working in networking for years, you could easily get hired. If you've been working in data center for years, you could have also easily get hired. So if you give me more information, I can give you a lot better results, but I don't know enough about you. So, so the next question, I was going to say, Jesse, okay, can we get a job as a solution architect without DevOps experience? Absolutely. In fact, if you have DevOps experience, it's going to make it about 10 times harder. Now, there's the second half of this question is you're seeing job postings with every skill other than architecture. And we're seeing them too. In fact, it's such a problem that when we have to deal with things, when we go to get people hired, we literally call the recruiters, call the hiring managers and find out what you want, because HR is writing these job descriptions and HR does not know what a cloud architect is. In fact, these job descriptions, and I'm going to read you the article, got so bad. In fact, there are so many people that are learning Python and SysOps and DevOps because some certification guy that never worked as an architect in their life. And mind you, all the certification providers, look at their resumes. None of them have ever worked as an architect for real. And none of them ever worked for a big tech company where they're doing architecture. They just took a bunch of certs and are teaching it. Hey, everybody, here's how you get hired. You take a bunch of certs. No. In fact, Gartner, and if you're new to technology, okay, let me introduce you to Gartner. And then you can do your own research. So Gartner is an organization, and I've worked with them for 25 years. What does Gartner do? Gartner is an organization that evaluates the newest technology, industry trends, what's going on, the best cloud, the best router, or the best firewall. Gartner's amazing. In fact, Gartner looked at these job descriptions the same way all of us architects that have been working architects for the last 30 years and looked at them and said, this isn't an architect. This is a coder. That's not an architect. Architects don't code. This is maintenance. Architects aren't maintenance people. And they surveyed chief information officers. So for those of you that are new to tech, CEO sets the strategy for the organization. Chief information officer does this. that helps meets the CEO's strategy through the use of tech, who hires the VP of IT, the director of IT, and the hiring manager who hires the cloud architect. So they were polled and they published this in an article, and I'll put the link to the article for you so you don't think I'm making this up. Now, mind you, I speak to architects every single day, and my architect students that now work at AWS or Google or Azure or Palo Alto or Dell or Cisco or at banks or at IBM, I've got lots of cloud architects. None of them do any DevOps. So here's the thing. When CIOs were asked, and the article was published, I pasted the link, Gartner asked CIOs, here's what CIOs said. The CIO said, here's what we want out of a cloud architect. Now, mind you, I've told you that a cloud architect is a business executive that's got technology skills. So here's what was published in this magazine. According to Gartner, from CIO magazine, word for word, I'm reading it for you, a cloud architect leads the cultural change for cloud adoption. A cloud architect develops and coordinates cloud architecture. A cloud architect develops a cloud strategy and coordinates the adoption process. A cloud architect helps to find talent with the necessary skills, assesses application software and hardware, creates a cloud broker team, establishes best practices for cloud across the company, selects cloud providers and vets third-party services, oversees governance and mitigates risk, manages budgets and estimates cost, and operates at scale. No configuration, no coding, no sysops, no DevOps, none of that, because we architects don't do that. Now, let's go be very clear. I'm going to break this down for you into either business, leadership, or tech. And I'm going to tell you that 75% of what we architects do is not tech at all. We're not that technical as architects. Cloud engineers, super technical people. Cloud architects, not very technical, but extremely business oriented. So let's read these again. Leading the cultural change for cloud adoption. That's one for leadership. Developing and coordinating a cloud architecture. Developing and coordinating cloud architecture. That's one for technology. Developing a cloud strategy and coordinating the adoption process. That is two as tech. Finding talent with the necessary skills. This is leadership. Assessing application software and hardware. This is tech. Creating a cloud broker team. That's leadership. Establishing best practices across the company. That's leadership. Selecting cloud providers. That's tech. Overseeing governance and mitigating risk. Working with the ICT security policy, develop procedures. That's leadership. Managing budgets and estimating cost. And operating at scale. Okay, so we've got 8 on the leadership side and 4 on the tech side. Like I said, we cloud architects are business executives that also do tech. And that's why it's so hard for some people to get architect jobs. And it's so easy for my students because everybody's studying sysops and DevOps and coding. And these are all completely irrelevant skills for this. And not only are they irrelevant, the more of these irrelevant skills we have, the less capable the hiring manager sees us at our jobs. If you needed a brain surgeon, would you want someone that went to medical school and became a neurosurgeon and spent their whole life doing brain surgery? Or do you want the person that decided to be a podiatrist and work on feet, and then studied house cleaning, and then studied dog walking, and then studied construction? Oh, by the way, I want to be a brain surgeon now. Who are you going to hire? Who are you going to pay more? You're going to pay that expert. So Iroquois, I hope I answered your question. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is I've interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people. 1,000. And of the 1,000 people before I started this company, none of them were hireable because they had every other skill other than architecture. And it breaks my heart. I mean, it truly saddens me that people spend a year or more learning every other skill other than the skill that's necessary. And then they spend their time, their effort, and their money. They work hard and they don't get hired. So I want you to be hired. I want you to build a great cloud architect career. I want you to be paid more than your wildest dreams. And I want you to enjoy every minute of your life. So go become an expert, go become a specialist, and go get cloud hired. Are okay? I hope I answered your question. Chris, please feel free to bring in the next question for me. Mohammed, what skills a solution architect must have? Mohammed, what a great question. So a solution architect needs to be an expert on the network and the data center. Network and data center, why? Okay, so Mohammed, I want you to understand that everything the cloud is just a network and a data center that's been virtualized. So just a network and a data center that's been virtualized. Now, Mohammed, what do we architects do? We take the systems that are in the network and the data center and we move them to the cloud. 80-90% of it is lift and shift, and some of it is slightly transformational. But all of what we're doing is we're taking things from the physical network in the data center to the cloud, which is a virtualized network in the data center. So the skills you must have is extreme knowledge of the network in the data center. And if you have extreme knowledge of the network in the data center, you know every cloud. Next, the cloud architect or solutions architect is a systems designer. So you must have architectural knowledge and training. Architectural knowledge is design. It is not configuration. So if somebody was going to build the Burj Al Arab, this beautiful building that's in Dubai, it took an architect to design it. The architect, met with the executives, the financiers of the thing, and they said, I want to build a beautiful building that looks like a sailboat, and I want it to be a certain height, and I want a helipad over here, and I want it to be in the middle of the ocean where you can only get there via a bridge on Jumeirah Beach and something like this. So the architect takes the requirements and designs them. Now the architect says the building's going to be this tall, the wind's going to be like this, and it has to withstand this. Then the architect's going to think about the density of the ground. And then the architect, Mohammed, is going to actually design that building and the building materials. Now, after the architects like me design it, and whether you're a cloud architect or a building architect, the job is the same. We design it, we pitch it back to the financiers or the business, and we convince them they need it. So Mohammed, what is it? It's knowledge of the network and the data center. It's emotional intelligence, executive presence. It's executive communication skills. It's being relevant to the CXO, to the CEO, to the CFO, to the CIO, to the CEO, to all of them. It's knowing how to communicate to the business people. It's being able to take business requirements and translate those business requirements to a technology solution. And it's about writing it up and documenting it and presenting it. Those are the skills, Mohammed. Note, I didn't say development. I didn't say configuration. I didn't say SysOps. I didn't say DevOps. And I didn't say any of it. 2/3 leadership, 1/3 tech. You get those things, Mohammed, you will have an amazing, I mean truly amazing career. So I've spoken to my team, and my team has told me that I should ask you to hit the like button. So if you're having a good time, hit the like button. And if you're enjoying things and you're looking for a cloud computing job or you're enjoying this, please type #CloudHired. And you know what? That tells us to keep producing content just like this and to come out there and ask the questions for you. So please let us know if you're having a good time. Hit the like button. Share this with others, inform others of the free work that we're doing here, and type #CloudHired. I see Percy has started it, so hopefully the rest of you will go along. While you guys are all letting me know that you're here with the Cloud Hired, we're hitting a like button. Jesse from my team, if you want to start bringing up another question, let's do it. Alex Osio, you have a CCNA with 0 experience. Is my career path help desk, network engineer, solutions architect? I don't think so, Axel. I think that's a long way to get there. So you got a couple options. You could go straight to solution architect, or you can go straight to network engineer. There's no reason for you to stop at help desk. 0. So what did I do? How did I start my career? My first tech job was as senior network engineer, and I was the lead architect within 6 months. I never went to help desk. There is no reason for anybody to go to help desk unless you want to go to help desk. If you want to get a help desk job, get an A+ or a Net+. That's the certification for help desk, and start looking for a job. Now, Axel, I'm going to tell you, in today's world, with the economy being in shambles, you're probably going to have an easier time getting a network engineer job than a help desk job. So my perspective is stop looking for these entry-level things, upskill yourself, and get a better job. You want a network engineer job? Go get your network engineer job. There's nothing stopping you. You want a solutions architect? Get a solutions architect job. There is nothing stopping you. The key is just becoming great at whatever you do, having a great attitude. So if you're a CCNA with no experience, go buy yourself a 16-core server with 128 gigs of RAM and 3 SSD drives. Set up EVE-NG on it. Set up server virtualization. Build some containers. Build some firewalls. Work with your Cisco devices on there. Set up the LAMP stack. Set up server virtualization. Set up NFS file sharing. Set up, all of it. Set up Active Directory. And you know what? Build a cloud. Every one of my students builds a cloud. You can't be a cloud architect if you don't know the cloud. So my students all build a cloud. So this is how you get experience in your home. Of course, you could do it in our program. In our 16-week Cloud Architect Career Development Program, we have live training twice per week for which we teach architecture. Our students do work in between classes, and then we have them do all these labs on our servers in our data center. So actually, you could do it that way and go straight to Solutions Architect. There's really no reason to stop in other careers. So Axel, to me, it's very important. If I want to drive from Port St. Lucie, Florida to Fort Pierce, Florida, I'm going to get in my car, I'm going to go straight up I-95. I'm not going to go to Miami on the way to Port St. Lucie, which is north of me. I'm going to go straight there. Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Go for the job you want, train the skills for the job you want, and get there faster. If it saves you 3 years and you take a job from help desk and you go straight to a $130,000 solution architect job, if you earn in those an extra $70,000 a year for 3 years, that's $200,000. That's basically a down payment on a really nice house. So don't start at the bottom. Upskill yourself. Become a network engineer or solutions architect as your first job. We can train you if you desire, or you can practice in the way of your house and still get really good. CCNA is too basic. You're realistically going to need to work as a network engineer somewhere between CCNP and CCIE knowledge. Guess what? You need that same knowledge as the cloud architect. No big deal. We can get you there. Asim Hans. Can one work as a solution architect without any coding skills? Absolutely, Asim. I don't know of any real architect that actually has coding skills. None. Zero. In fact, the people that focus on coding are the hardest ones to get hired, because when they should be focusing on business acumen and executive presence and architecture and knowledge of the network and the data center, they're busy focusing on coding, and architects don't code. So if you code, just realize this, you're going to not have the skills that are necessary. So Asim, you only have so much time to train those cloud architect skills that are the actual related to the cloud architect job. What is related to the cloud architect job? Design, presentation. That's what we do. Documentation, sales. These are cloud architect skills. These are solution architect skills. You know what is not? Coding. So you don't need coding skills, and definitely don't train them. Train the other skills that are necessary for your job, and you will be highly successful. Jesse, you want to bring in the next one? Matthew, you're interested in DevOps. You've seen a lot of DevOps jobs that require AWS Cloud experience. You're confused. Okay, so here's the thing, Matthew. DevOps is just DevOps. On the cloud, off the cloud, it's all DevOps. Now, there are some different tools on AWS versus they're 2% different than Google. Why are they looking for so many DevOps engineers on the cloud? Well, there's two sides of DevOps, Matthew. There's the automating software releases to improve the speed and accuracy. Now, applications are moving to the cloud. So since the cloud's the next version of the data center, of course you're going to find DevOps engineers doing that. But that's not where the DevOps engineers are working. The DevOps engineers in the cloud are doing something totally different. So, and this is really exciting. The cloud architect Mila is going to design it. And after the cloud architect Mila designs it, somebody has to build it. Now, generally speaking, the builders are the cloud engineers, but the DevOps engineers can often help the cloud engineers build. See, DevOps are experts in automation. So the DevOps people are very good at using tools such as Terraform. And by using tools such as Terraform, Matthew, the DevOps engineer can actually rapidly deploy the things that the cloud architect like me designed. So you're going to see a lot of DevOps engineers on the cloud. They're not architects. They're not doing system design. They're doing system deployment. So here's the typical flow. Cloud architect designs it, cloud engineers and DevOps people build it. And when it's completely built and we're not going to look at it ever again, we're going to turn it over to SysOps people or maintenance, administration or maintenance. That is as far away as you can get from architecture is administration. So just letting you know. And they're all valuable jobs if you need the cloud architects like me to design it. But cloud architects only design, they don't build. So you need those cloud engineers and those DevOps people to build it. And then It needs to be maintained, and that's the job of your administrators, your sysops people. All critical people as part of the process. And they're all going to work on the cloud, and they're all going to work on the data center, because the cloud's the new data center of 2021. Same thing, no different. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. The only difference is whether it's virtual or physical. Jesse, you want to bring in the next one? Here is a really great question. What is the actual difference between the AWS cloud and the Salesforce cloud? Nothing. All these clouds are the same. They're all the same. Whether you run an OpenStack Ansible cloud, whether you run a Nutanix cloud, the AWS cloud, the Azure cloud, they're all just networks and data centers that are virtualized. So Umar Saqib, where people get themselves in trouble is as follows. They go learn the AWS cloud. I know S3. I know EC2. I would say, don't learn S3. Don't learn EC2. Don't learn EBS. It is a waste of your time. It is useless, actually. Instead, learn object storage, learn block storage, learn server virtualization, learn containers, learn firewalls, learn IDS IPS systems, learn routers, learn switches, learn what they do. And then when you have to design something and you meet with the client and it's like, okay, you need a new 3-tier web architecture. All we need to do is this following. We need a network load balancer followed by some servers, followed by another series of network load balancers, followed by some servers, followed by an OSQL database or a relational database. Here's the thing. If I know I need a network load balancer, does it matter whether I get a cloud load balancer from Google, an Azure load balancer from Azure, or an Elastic load balancer from AWS? It's meaningless. It's the same thing. So Umar, you're right. There is nothing different. They are all the same. It's truly like, let's pretend you were in the US and you wanted to go to a home improvement store. You could go to Home Depot or Lowe's. That's the difference between the AWS cloud and the Salesforce cloud. It's just a brand. Go pick the brand you like. Go get yourself cloud hired. Learn the cloud, not AWS, not Salesforce, not Oracle, not GCP. Learn the cloud. Then you'll be good. Asim Hand, you're missing the point. I mentioned knowledge of the network and the data center. You're asking me which of the 150 services do I recommend is necessary? None of them. I recommend you learn the network and the data center and every one of those technologies. What are those technologies? They are servers and server virtualization. Guess what? With AWS, that's EC2 instances. There's a million of them, but it's just the server virtualization. Then I say learn a container. Do you put the container on a virtual machine? Do you run Kubernetes? Do you run Docker? Do you run something proprietary? Again, container services. Same container services on every cloud. Firewalls. Wow, you need to protect the perimeter of our network. Don't learn WAF. Probably not going to use WAF anyway. You're going to use something more serious that you're going to get from the marketplace. Something from Cisco or Palo Alto or Checkpoint. Learn what a firewall is. Streaming data coming in. Streaming data. All this data coming in and processing. Well, that sounds like Apache Kafka to me. Now, could you use Kinesis? Sure, if you're only on AWS. Who's going to be just on AWS? Nobody. You're going to be on AWS and Azure, or AWS and GCP, or AWS and Nutanix. So again, all that stuff's gone. Go straight to Kafka because it works on everybody. I need a NoSQL database. Learn about NoSQL databases. Learn how they work. Learn about Apache Cassandra. Learn about MongoDB. What are you going to use in a multi-cloud environment? One of them. You're sure not going to be using DynamoDB. You can't. It's vendor proprietary, and you can't do multi-cloud with this. So stop learning AWS services. Learn the actual services that are going to transform the business. And then be like the rest of the architects. Go to the store. If an architect designs the building and they say they need steel of a certain strength, they don't memorize the name of the steel of a certain strength. They put their specs down and the structural engineer goes and buys it from the vendor after speaking to a vendor. I'm not going to recommend you learn any of the vendor services. I'm going to recommend that you learn every piece of technology that makes the cloud possible. I'm going to ask you to learn every piece of technology that the organizations have, every piece of technology and innovation that you can choose to improve somebody's business. That's what I want you to learn. If you just learn the names of the AWS services, you won't be hired. And if you are hired, it will be for a low pay position. And even if you're lucky enough to get one of these low pay positions, what's going to happen when you have to deal with Azure or Google or Nutanix? You'll be completely unprepared. So, Asim, learn how to drive a truck or a car. You don't get into a Honda and memorize the Honda things, the Honda button, the Honda name for something. And then what do you do when you're a Toyota? Not know how to drive a car and have to learn the new names and services? You learn how to drive. You learn the steering wheel, you learn the accelerator, you learn the brakes, you learn what cars do, you learn how they work. Don't learn the AWS services. Learn the cloud. And then you're in a transformational position. Because I can't transform anybody with S3, but I can look at object storage, and I can think about object storage, and I can think about the metadata that's associated with object storage, and how that metadata could be integrated into a big data environment, and how that metadata can create a data lake, which could then be used to create a data catalog, which could then be used to run a machine learning application, which could then be using a visual application to make better business decisions in real time. Asim, that's transformational. That's how you improve business. The names of the AWS things that make that happen, they're so irrelevant. You need to know what you need to do, and then you can do it this way on any cloud anywhere. So I hope I answered your question. Mohammed, thanks a lot. My other question is, how do you practice networking and data expertise, as I haven't done it professionally? Now, that is a good question. I'm going to tell you what my students do and what I've recommended for decades, and my students that have done this have gotten hired. How do you practice networking? Well, my students VPN into our data center. We run Cisco router simulators running Cisco software called EVE-NG. And in my Cloud Network Architect program, which we're going to release very soon, we're running fully licensed versions of EVE-NG, which runs real Cisco router, and that will give you a chance to play with routers and switches and firewalls. All kinds of big global enterprises use this. Now, in that same server, and your server is going to have to be a minimum of 16 cores, 128 gigs of RAM, and 3 SSD drives. Now, if you take our program, you'll have access to all of this in our program, and our program costs half what it takes to buy the server, because we're in the helping people business, not making money business. But that's our way. But if you're not with us, buy yourself a 16-core server with 128 gigs of RAM and 3 SSD drives in RAID 0 or an NVMe drive, because you're going to need that kind of performance to do this. Set up server virtualization, build some containers, build some firewalls, build some VPN concentrators. Build the LAMP stack, build Samba shares, build NFS shares, set up Active Directory, build a cloud. These are the way you get your experience. Get your experience this way, and wow, you have a career that you can't possibly imagine. I've been working with that. Now, the students in my program put down Go Cloud Architects when they're doing these things. And I'm going to tell you what you do if you're not with us. My students put a Go Cloud Architect session where they put down they're an associate. And when they do these things, they can say, set up server virtualization for enterprise-wide computing, build design and deploy container environment for enterprise computing, designed Active Directory IAM structure for organization-wide IAM, built in OpenStack Ansible, designed and deployed in OpenStack Ansible Cloud for enterprise-wide cloud computing services. See, these are the kind of things you need to put on your resume. My students have a list of these things that shows up as valid experience. But if you're not with me and you don't have a Go Cloud Architects internship / job employment thing on your resume, which makes it a million times easier to hire you, and you don't have all my recruiter networks, and you don't have all my training, at least you can buy yourself a server and you can do all this. Now, my course is half the price of the server, and it includes all these labs, but what I'm trying to tell you is you can get your experience on your own and you don't need me to do it. So that's how I recommend you do it. Emmanuel, is it relevant to invest in your program if you're already an Azure administrator? Well, sure. An Azure administrator is someone that basically configures things. A cloud architect is a designer. The cloud architect has double or triple the salary of the administrator long-term. The cloud architect is more of a designer. The cloud architect commands substantially more respect. The cloud architect has a much greater earnings, and the cloud architect works a lot less hard for a lot more money. So if you enjoy being an administrator and doing what you're doing and you're having fun and it's meeting all your things, the answer is great. If you want more out of life, if you want a much bigger career, if you want more respect and better financial return, then my program and the cloud architecture world is great. But cloud architects are customer-facing people, so you gotta like being with people, Emmanuel. But if you do, of course it's worth it, because it could have such a big impact on your life, especially getting you out of those admin roles. We don't train administrators, we train architects. Jesse, exactly. Upskill yourself. You're welcome, Asin. My whole point of doing these questions and answers is so that you can actually learn what you need to, so you know exactly what to do. Say your shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. I hate to see you guys waste any of your time. Ask those questions, Jesse. Shakir, when people follow, do I have a guarantee? I can't guarantee anything in life, including that I'm going to wake up and not be dead tomorrow. So Shakir, how could I guarantee that? I can't guarantee that one of my students is going to come to class. I can't guarantee that my students are going to do the work. I will tell you that my students that actually do the work and show up on class get hired. But, I can't force someone to actually do the job. I can't. And in fact, even as somebody's manager, I can't force someone to do the job. Now, I can fire someone for not good performance, but I don't know that I'll be alive tomorrow. I mean, I'm healthy. My doctors told me I'm healthy. I live a healthy lifestyle. I eat well, but I don't even know if I'm going to be alive tomorrow, meaning that I don't get hit by a bus or have a heart attack while I'm sleeping. So I can't guarantee your actions. Whether you get hired in my program is up to you. It's not up to me. If you come to my program and you do the work, you will be successful and you get hired. But if you don't come to my classes and you don't come to my program and you don't do the work, just because you bought a program is not going to get you hired. So it's up to you, Shakir. You are the determining factor of whether you get hired or not. So Jesse, if you want to bring in the next one. Perfect. Focus on cloud concepts and you will be great. Matthew, my course will teach you how to become a great cloud architect. Your DevOps experience will have zero ability to make anything related to become a cloud architect. What we're going to do with DevOps, Matthew, if I work you, is we're going to say, great, you understand the Kubernetes. Great, you understand automation of the software release cycles. That means you're in a better position to talk about it. But Matthew, there's no DevOps in architecture. So the DevOps is what I consider to be a sunk cost. It's something that will make you better because you'll have more knowledge of the automation side than an architect like me. So it's going to be helpful. But, for me, since there's no DevOps in architecture, we have to start you from ground zero, which is no big deal. We start everybody from ground zero, including the certified solution architect professionals, because they don't know how to be architects either. It doesn't matter. So we start by teaching the network and the data center, and then we teach the cloud. Then we teach the communication skills, the design skills, the executive presence skills, the leadership skills, the ROI modeling skills, the negotiation skills, everything. We have to teach all of it. So we could help you become a great cloud architect. The DevOps piece isn't going to help you. I wish it was, but it isn't going to help you because it's a totally different career. So it's kind of like you saying you want to become a doctor. Hey, by the way, Mike, I used to walk dogs. Is that going to help me become a doctor? And the answer is no. Because, one is design and another is automation, and they're so far apart from each other. But it would be very easy, Matthew, to get you a cloud architect job. It'd be nothing. If you've got some background in tech, 16 weeks in our program, teach you the network, teach you the data center, teach you the skills, call one of my recruiters by the time I know you're ready to be hired, and you'll be hired. That's not hard. But I don't want to mislead you into think that we can actually use that DevOps for anything, because it's a great career, but it has nothing to do with architecture. Percy Duckworth. Do architects need to learn the network? Absolutely. You're undecided between the CCNA and the AWS network, advanced networking. Percy, that is a really good question. So when we look at the AWS advanced networking, now you got to remember I'm a network architect. When I actually look at the AWS advanced networking, it's not even an intro to 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 junior level networking. It's that weak. In fact, that AWS advanced networking is so pathetically weak. I do teach it. And the reason I teach it is everybody wants to learn it. So I teach it, but it's not enough. Now, the CCNA is a great start, but again, that's also not enough. So it's somewhere between the CCNA and CCNP. So at the CCNA, it's all about, routers and switches and learning to configure them and learning the protocols, which is great. But per se, the CCNA does not cover BGP. Neither does the AWS Advanced Networking. So what we're really talking about, Percy, is, we're talking a hybrid between the CCNA and the CCNP, and we're trying to marry that hybrid of the CCNA and the CCNP with some data center background. So the key is, I actually do like the AWS Advanced Networking, but not to teach networking. I like to teach the AWS Advanced Networking, and I do it so people understand the concepts of the VPCs and the concepts of VPC peering and the concepts of non-transitive routing and the concepts of all the cloud-specific stuff. So to learn the network, I say do a CCNA, CCNP, or you could also do the Aviatrix Multi-Cloud Network Engineer Professional. That also, in mine, qualifies as some networking. The AWS Advanced Networking is basically, and here's the reason I teach it, and is one, people want it, but more importantly, the AWS Advanced Networking takes network architects like me and teaches them the AWS services on how to configure or how to set up and design the things that we've always done in the network and the data center. So for Percy, for learning networking, let me tell you, it's got to be from Cisco. If you're learning how to go from a network expert to the cloud, then that AWS Advanced Networking is very good for that, because you're not learning networking there. You're just learning, taking those networking things and move it to the cloud. Wayne Lowe, you're currently help desk. What are the steps you need to become a cloud architect? Wayne, the same steps as if you were a network engineer or if you never worked in tech in your life. The steps to become a cloud architect are as follows. You must learn the network and the data center, because that is the cloud. Then you must learn the network and the data center as it pertains to the cloud, meaning what happens once you add the control plane to the network and the data center and you actually build the cloud. Then you must learn about firewalls, VPN concentrators, storage, block object files, NFS, server message block storage, Active Directory, Radius, and other forms of IAM and LDAP directories. You need to have a good understanding of Linux. You need to understand, switching and BGP and OSPF and IBGP and eBGP and VLANs and 802.1q tagging and NAT, Q and Q tagging, software-defined networking. These are some of the networking things. Like I said, on the security side, firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems. On the storage side, block object and file storage. And I don't mean the names of these services, I mean how they work. I mean for real. And then after that, we need to understand, realistically, databases. You've got to have good knowledge of relational databases and NoSQL databases and data warehouses. You probably should learn, you probably need to learn the components and parts of how these systems are, how the systems are designed is necessary, critical. I mean, it's all end-to-end design. And then after that, the communication skills, emotional intelligence, executive presence, writing skills, and the such. These are the kind of things that you teach. You just passed your solution architect. What would you suggest for people like you to improve your skills? I don't know what career you actually desire, Menrock, because there's different skills for every single career. So if you tell me which career, then I can tell you what to do to improve your skills. For example, if you start writing code and you want to be an architect, that's not going to help you. If you do all day configuring and you want to be a cloud engineer, this is great. But if you spend configuring time as a cloud architect, it's terrible. As a cloud architect, you need to be focused on design. So tell me the career you want, and then Menrock Williams, I can tell you which one. But without actually knowing your desired career, I can't tell you what are valuable skills. IROK or ITIL specialty certifications going to help? Certifications are not going to help anybody. So certifications do help you in one way and only one way. The certification does get you a job interview, but nobody gets hired because of the certification, or nobody doesn't get hired due to lack of certifications. Certifications will open the door to get you an interview, And beyond that, they do absolutely zero. So the key is, when we're looking at these things, are ITL specializations going to help you? No. What is going to help you, Iro? Get the Certified Solution Architect Professional and get something from the industry, like a CCNP or a CISSP or something that from the field you want. You want to do networking, get a CCNP and mix it. You want to do security, get a CISSP or a CEH master and combine it. The real key is making sure that you actually have the skills to get the job. The certifications aren't what gets you hired. It's your skill that gets you hired. It's your attitude that gets hired. It's your energy that gets you hired. It's your it's your technical competency, your attitude. These are the things that get you hired. So don't spend your time doing doing a million certifications. Focus on what matters. So Robert Half recently did a survey, and I've got a post that's coming out for you this week. And in the survey, they found that studying for additional certifications can have up to a $14,000 benefit. Now, another study recently said that if you focus on soft skills, that has about a 33% raise on your salary. So you can study and get all these certifications, and maybe it makes a $14,000 difference. Or you can study soft skills. The average cloud architect earns $160. Training soft skills gives you approximately a 33% raise. That's an additional $50,000 a year, every year for the rest of your life, which, by the way, training that versus this, So 60 versus 14, you're still $45,000 ahead. So over 30 years, by not studying all these silly certifications and studying soft skills, it's going to make $1.5 million difference in your career. Now, where else should you train your training? Emotional intelligence. Individuals who train emotional intelligence, again, you can find this data all over the internet, earn $30,000 more per year over individuals that don't. So combine your soft skills and your emotional intelligence, and you're dealing with $70,000 a year more than if you just train certifications. So that's $2.1 million over a 30-year career. Okay, you want a great cloud architect job. Where do you want to invest your time? The thing that's going to give you $14,000 and probably won't get you promoted, or the thing that's going to give you an additional $2 million in your career and will get you promoted to earn far, far, far more. You'll be treated with more respect. You'll be treated more decently, and you'll have a great career. It's up to you, okay? I'm not Mr. Certifications. I'm Mr. Be the best cloud architect. I'm Mr. Go in there and transform your customer's business. I'm in there and have $1 billion design for your customer that saves them $3 billion or gives them $3 million in new revenue. That's me. I'm about making somebody's business transformed. And then, you know what? If you are able to go save somebody $1 billion, does it matter if they pay you $10 million to do it? It means nothing to them. So go out there and be great. Be the best. Focus on being great. Don't focus on the certifications. It doesn't matter. Focus on what's going to make you so good. The world can't live without you. That's my career recommendations. That's why my students have done so well over these few years. And then if you want to bring in the next one, Tide. Hi, Mike. You mentioned how people with no technical background take 8 months to train and get them employed. Has it ever taken longer? If it has, what do you do next? Well, it's never taken longer than that for me, Tide, but I do let my people stay in the program for up to a year. Generally speaking, it's not that hard to get someone one of these jobs if they're laser focused and they know what to do. But I will tell you that there are a percentage of people that I have. It's a very small number. I'd say 1 out of 10 people that I have signs up and has never made it to a single class. Now, just paying for something doesn't get someone hired. Now, I got to say, that's 1 out of 10. The other 90% come to class, they help each other. I mean, they are amazing and they do really well. But, I got to tell you, 1 out of 10 just doesn't come to class. So there's nothing I can do with that. But, that's part of being honest. You can only help people that want to help themselves. But it's not taking me longer than that. And if it's taken me longer than that, it's because the person is not doing the studying on their own. We've got it clear. We've got a plan for networking. I've been teaching networking for 20 years. I noticed where to start with the network. I know how to talk about what a router is, what is a switch, what is an IP address, how does a routing protocol work. I've done it forever. And I've been teaching people for 25 plus years. So got a routine here. It's pretty easy to get through, and you will do extremely, extremely well. It's funny, Jesse was one of my students. I think he's been with me for 2 months before I hired him, maybe a little longer. I'm not sure, Jesse. You can put in the chat box how long you've been here since before I hired you. Why did I hire Jesse? Because he was awesome. And if you're great, getting hired is so easy. It's not hard to get hired. You just have to have the right skill. Chris, you can bring in the next one. Mo Khan, whoa, great question. Why is Linux important roles like this or networking? Okay, Mo, I want to let you know this. The whole cloud runs on Linux. The whole cloud. So Linux is the primary operating system of all servers in the world, in today's world. But here's what a cloud is. You take 10,000 servers, you stick them in a data center. You put what's called a control plane, which is basically a controller. It kind of manages the resources on all the servers. Basically, that's your cloud. It's your hosts. You put a little bit of a Linux kernel on them. You put a Linux hypervisor and a control plane. So the whole cloud, Mocan, is Linux. And all the servers on the cloud are Linux. And the operating systems for your routers, your switches, your firewalls, your appliances, your cell phones, especially Android, it's all Linux. So Linux is everything. The only thing that I think Microsoft does is the desktop, and they do a good desktop compared to other things that are out there. And the other thing that Microsoft does is Active Directory and Exchange. So realistically speaking, that's kind of the answer. So that's why Linux is so important, and Linux is everywhere. S. Morwet, how about I teach you networking in the program? Well, I've got 25 years of doing it. I've got lots of experience starting with what is a switch, what is a router, what is an IP address, how does OSPF work, how does BGP work? It's kind of what I've done. It's kind of exactly what I've done to try and do these things. So that's exactly what it takes to do it. But teaching networking is simple. So. Mo Khan, what we have is a mentoring program. That is what our Cloud Architect Career Development Program is. It is a mentorship program with people from all around the world that work together. We have live classes twice per week where we do architectural designs together. And in between live classes, we have people do homework assignments, and they submit them to Slack, and we provide feedback. And then our students do case studies, and our students do lab, and they have to turn them in. Now, I can't force you to turn it in. Like I said, I can't go to your house and make sure you do the work. But these are live classes with full participation from people. These are not Udemy courses. This is not a 10-hour Udemy course. This is a 250-hour program to turn somebody into a cloud architect, assuming they've been working in tech. And if they're not in tech, it's a 500-hour program. And we're going to be there every step of the way. You can ask us questions in class, and you can ask us questions on Slack. And there is a network of people. They work together. Some of my students are probably even on this call. And they always work together. You've got to, because we'd never let you be in a position if you're not doing things right. And that's why we do the architectural training live, and that's why we have you turn in your work. If you don't know if it's right, it's not going to be right. So we check everything and verify it, Mocon. Wayne Lowe, while you're learning all the necessary knowledge for the cloud, should you move on to a networks Linux admin role from help desk? Well, I wouldn't. If I wanted to be an architect, I would go train to be an architect, Wade. Don't try some new career. Train to be an architect. If I want to be a doctor, I don't go to veterinary school. I go to medical school. If I want to be a banker, I go to business school. So if you're currently working in something in tech, stay there and study health. Because here's what's going to happen. If you go to a network or a Linux admin role, none of that is architecture anyway. Administration is configuration. Architecture is design. So none of these jobs are realistically speaking going to be preparation because they're different. If you were a network architect, then I'd say, Wayne Lowe, that's great. But I got to tell you, it's harder to be a network architect than a cloud architect. Becoming a network architect takes like 75,000 pages of reading and all the same business acumen of the cloud architect. Becoming a cloud architect could be done in 10,000 pages of reading if you weren't with us. Where the network architect, there's no way you're doing it in less than 75 to 100,000 pages of reading. It's that much more complicated. And if you choose to go be a network admin or a network engineer, it's going to take you just as long, if not longer, to get that role as it would to get the cloud architect role. So, Wayne Lowe, if you want to be a cloud architect, we're happy to train you. Train it, become a cloud architect by becoming a cloud architect, not somebody else's job. Everybody wants to get there. What do you call it? And I'll get to AK's question in a second. I don't get to Pennsylvania from Florida by going to California first. I go straight to Pennsylvania. AK, what an interesting name. Sir, how to improve networking concept for preparation? Well, read the Cisco press books. That'll help you prepare. Get some Cisco routers, get some Cisco switches, do some hands-on labs. That'll help you prepare. But realistically speaking, AK, that CCNA exam is very, very, very basic and very, very easy. I took the CCNA 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, when I had no tech background whatsoever. I bought the book, I locked myself in a room for 4 days, and I passed the test. It was no big deal. Now, I did take a 10-day, $11,000 boot camp 25 years ago for the CCNP, and that was a challenging exam. But the CCNA was pretty simple. I just did it in 4 days. What I would say is, you want to be good in networking, do the CCNA thing, buy yourself a server, download EVE-NG, start doing some labs on the server. But again, this is engineering. It's going to be configuration, but you can do some of these labs. And when you're doing the labs, you can run a sniffer or a protocol analyzer to see the packets that were on the network. You can do some debug IP packets on the routers and see the hello messages between the routers for the routing protocols, kind of like a health tech. And if you get hands-on there, you can get some pretty good experience. So I would say get hands-on on some routers and switches. Either buy some, and you can buy some really good CCNA bundles on eBay for about $200, or you could buy you can buy a server and use that for EVE-NG, and then you can also use that for server virtualization, containers, firewalls, cloud, building clouds, and all kinds of cool things. At least that's what I would do if I was you. Percy Duckworth, can I really be an architect under 30? I feel like I should be in DevOps because you're so young. Now, Percy, it's an interesting question there. And maybe you can pop in the video for everybody to see, or not you, maybe I'll have Jesse pop in a video for everybody to see. I don't know why I wanted to think you were Jesse in my head, but you're Percy. But that's neither here nor there. So it is going to be harder to get you a cloud architect job under 30. I'm going to be straightforward about it. It is going to be harder under 30 getting a cloud architect job. Why? Remember, the architect is his business advisor. And when you're 28 and you don't have any gray hairs and you don't have a lot of experience, it's generally harder to be an architect because the executives aren't going to assume you're there. No, I was an architect in my late 20s, and you can do it too. If you want to be an architect under 30, you're going to have to be very focused. You're going to have to focus on being 20% better than everybody else. You're going to have much deeper design skills, much deeper tech skills. You're going to have much better attitude, energy, and enthusiasm. Now, Percy Duckworth, when you are young, people see you as energetic and a fireball, and you learn fast. So while we're older, the world just assumes to walk in there, we're experienced. We know what to do. When you're younger, you got to prove it. Here you go, Jesse. Jesse is that's why I hired this young man. So Percy, there you can see, this is someone your age that I hired to be on my team. Why did I hire him? He does the work. He did the work. He said, Mike, I want to write a blog. Mike, I want to do all this extra stuff. When I saw Jesse Murdoch, I went, I have to hire this kid because he's energetic and enthusiastic. So see, yes, you can get jobs. I've worked with a lot of people that by the time they were done school had very senior roles by the time they were out of college, but they worked hard and they worked to be better. So yes, you can do it, but you're going to have to be better. You're going to have to play to your strengths. Mo Khan. Now, this is an interesting question. Is a network engineer related to a general cloud architect? No. A network engineer is like a cloud engineer. A network architect is identical to a general cloud architect, identical. The only thing is, as a network architect, our tools, our design are routers and switches. As a cloud architect, our tools are routers, switches, servers, load balancers, firewalls, pretty much the same thing. In fact, Mo Khan, I'm going to tell you, the CCIEs like me get hired on the cloud overnight. I had another CCIE recently. His name was Joe. He joined my program. Within 3 weeks of the program, he was hired as a senior cloud solutions architect at AWS. But he was a network architect like me. And I got to tell you, most of the peers that I have from the network architecture world all took on principal and distinguished cloud architect roles at all the big cloud providers with no background other than network architecture. So here's the thing. Network engineer, cloud engineer. Network architect, cloud architect. Engineers, builders, architects, designers. Keep that, you'll always know where you're going to be. Now this is the question. Lift Tech Sleep 911. You're a software engineer with soft skills. Well, that would be good. There's varying degrees of soft skills in executives. If you haven't been closing billion-dollar deals and you've not worked in sales and you've not actually presented in front of an audience of 5,000, chances are you need a lot of development there. But I don't know you well, so maybe that's not the case. But I will tell you, in my experience, anybody that's never done that, it was very hard unless we trained the soft skills and the communication skills and executive presence. You're looking to move into DevOps, but what does work-life balance look like a solution architect versus DevOps? Okay, here's the thing. The DevOps engineer is going to work their tail off. They're going to work hard and they're not going to be respected. The cloud architect is going to get up. They're going to go to the client site. They're going to buy lunch. They're going to have a meeting. Maybe they'll buy their client dinner and they go home. I will tell you, when I moved out of engineering roles and I moved into architecture roles, I did a third to half of the work and I got paid 2 to 3 times higher. So I got to tell you, the worst jobs that I know are engineering jobs. The best jobs I know are architecture jobs. Now, there are people that love engineering. And if you are a software developer and you love coding and you love sitting behind a computer, then DevOps is a great job for you. Now, it'll be like any other software engineer position. You're going to be there, you're going to work hard, and you know how software engineers are treated by the management. By comparison, the architect is a director level position in general, and you know how the directors get treated. Director level and above, they get treated very nicely. They don't work so hard. So as an architect, I'm going to say you're going to do half the work and get paid double the salary. Choice is up to you. Both careers are absolutely excellent. There's a reason I don't do engineering, because I like the work-life balance. Asim Hans, I don't have any prerequisites, and here's the reason why. I train cloud architects. I get people that have spent 20 years in software development. None of that is related to what we do. So I have to start them from the beginning. And guess what? They do really well. My customer service reps, wow, they come through fast. My sales reps, they come through fast. No matter where somebody starts, I have to level set them and start building the foundation. We get into very, very, very deep depth in our program, Asim Hans. But I can't get into deep depth unless I know everybody's got a baseline. That baseline is really, really critical. If someone doesn't understand BGP and the BGP decision algorithms, it doesn't matter what their background is, they can't traffic engineer their traffic. If someone doesn't understand IP addressing, and trust me, unless you're a network engineer, you don't understand IP addressing. Guess what? I have to teach that. So there are no prerequisite skills for joining my program. We start everybody at ground zero. We do a very fast level set and we ramp up really, really fast, to the point that when my students build architectures on our weekly training calls, they're designing architectures within a few weeks of my program with organizations that have 20,000 remote locations, 40,000 subnets, hundreds of thousands of servers, hundreds of thousands of remote access employees, you name it, petabytes of storage, big data, machine learning. My students are doing this every time. But we got to start from scratch in order to get there, so that we have no prerequisites. Axel, no, I don't have a different set of students that are familiar with networking. When I get students that are familiar with networking, I get them through my program faster. Why is it not enough just to know networking? Well, I'm a networking guy. Most networking people like me know routers and switches and routing protocols. Most networking people don't know servers. Most networking people don't know server virtualization. Most networking people don't know firewalls. Most networking people don't know IDS, IPS systems. Most networking people don't know storage. Most networking people, you get the point, is no matter where you're at, there's still going to be gaps. I have the same set of classes. Now, my network architects, the CCIEs, typically graduate a little faster, but networking is half, and the other data center is half. And you know what? After interviewing thousands of network engineers, very few that weren't CCIEs with numbers of less than 10,000 didn't need some kind of networking training. Now, if you're a CCIE when your number is less than 10,000 when you took the 2-day exam, we can figure an expedited way to get you through. And if you're a really strong networking person, we could find an expedited way to get you through, but it's going to be the same program. And the expedited way to get you through would be when you do these designs and we monitor your designs, if they're better and if you're capable of getting done sooner, I'll call the recruiters faster to get you hired, but I won't do that until I know you're ready to be hired. So these are the kind of things. But yes, we've got students of all backgrounds, lots of CCIEs in the program. They do well and typically get through faster. But you know what? Even my CCIEs still need a lot because they may be a CCIE. They may be great at BGP. They may be great at SDN and MPLS, but they may not have the business acumen or the emotional intelligence, the communication skills. So the answer is, I just wanted to understand that. Well, it's good that we spoke. I'm glad we had a chance to talk. Asim Hans, from a job perspective, the best thing you can do is pick a specialty. Specialties include cloud networking, cloud security, IAM, yes, that's different than security, big data, industry specifics like cloud solutions for fintech, cloud solutions for healthcare. There's a million ways to specify. Either specify on a technology or specify in an industry, can double your salary, make you a thought leader, and help you get promoted much, much, much faster. All of our students pick a specialty. Hazma Manwar. As a DevOps or cloud engineer, it's going to be very necessary to learn programming. You're going to have to know Python, Node.js, infrastructure as code. I think it's Golang. You're going to need to know all those things as a cloud engineer. And for DevOps, you're going to have to know everything that people actually write software in and all the DevOps tools. Giovanni, what about SysOps? Well, SysOps is, well, let's look at it this way. Cloud architects design, cloud engineers build, and when it's done, we build it, we hand it to the SysOps. SysOps is by far the lowest paid, lowest respected part of the industry. I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend staying away from SysOps or systems administration. It's not that it's a bad job per se, but the lowest paid people are always going to be the administration people, and the administration people are the ones that are held back the most. Once you're in SysOps, it's assumed that your social skills are weak. It's assumed that you don't have the business skills. It's kind of like a brand. It's like that scarlet letter on you that's really hard to get rid of. In fact, it is really hard to get rid of that brand. So much so that at one point, I was a really exceptionally good engineer. I mean, really good. I became a CCIE back when it was a 2-day exam. My CCIE number is 7417 in 6 months from the first time that I even touched the router. And here's what happened. I became a lead architect. I was a good architect. Now, I started noticing that the company was hiring other architects and they were being paid double me. And none of them knew anything. They were like horrible technical professionals, but they all kept getting paid more. And they were distinguished. And here I'm a senior and they're distinguished. I'm like, what the heck am I doing wrong? And I asked my manager. My manager said, look, Mike, you're a hardcore engineer turned architect. That's your brand. You're not an executive. So of course you can't get these better jobs. I said, you're penalizing me for being more technical. And he says, no, I'm not penalizing you. That's your brand. You built it. That's your brand. That's what you're going to be. And I went, whoa, okay. So I got to tell you what I did. I saw what the sales reps were doing. They were wearing Armani and Canali suits. I bought some Armani and Canali suits. The sales reps, when they were asked a question, how does this work? They said, let me find the subject matter expert. You know what I did? Let me find the subject matter expert. After 6 months, I shed the perception of me being this incredible engineer / architect on the technical side. Next thing I realized, I'm a business transformation specialist. My salary doubled. So once you do sysops, it puts that hard brand on you as the maintenance man or the maintenance woman. And once you've got the maintenance man brand on you, it is really hard. So don't study sysops. If you happen to be working in sysops, understand what you're going to have to do to get out of it. You're going to have to work really hard to build the perfect brand, build the elite brand. That's exactly what you're going to have to do. That's what's going to take if you're in sysops. So if you're not in sysops, please don't go there. But if you're in there, think about having the world think of you being less technical and more leadership oriented. Change your dress, change your communication, the way you walk, the way you talk, everything to try and shed the sysops brand. That's the best advice I can give for you. Gem London, can someone with a master's degrees in marketing communications be trained as a cloud architect? Easily. Perfect role. Some of the easiest people to train are sales reps, management consultants, those of us that have done marketing, those of us that have done Marcom, like it sounds like you've done. Easiest transition. 50% of what we do as an architect is about crafting the right message. And what do we do in marketing? Marketing is about designing a solution, determining what to price it and how to promote it. Guess what? Marketing communications is helping promote that message. What do we do as cloud architects? All marketing communications and system design. Gem London, you would be the perfect person to be trained as a cloud architect. That would be the easiest transition of the bunch so far. Much easier than if you came from a software background, and about 10 times easier than if you came from a sysops background. Again, we can still train those sysops. We still train those software engineers every day of the week, and we get them hired every day of the week. But your background is unbelievable. That's a perfect background for the architect. Percy Duckworth. What's the difference between the AWS Certified Solution Architect and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional? Two things, Percy. First, the questions are written a lot more poorly on the Certified Solution Architect Professional. So both AWS exams. And let me tell you when the exams are appropriate for you. The AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate is kind of like the first thing. Like I tell people, never take the Cloud Practitioner. Start with the Certified Solution Architect Associate. Why do I tell people to skip the Cloud Practitioner? It's impossible to get hired with the Cloud Practitioner. And it takes roughly 2 months to pass the Cloud Practitioner. If the average cloud architect earns $600 a day when they're taking the Cloud Practitioner, and it takes them 2 months to do an exam that can't get them hired, that's a total loss of money for the cloud architect of $24,000. They started off with the Certified Solution Architect Associate, which is basically like an intro to an intro to an intro to an intro to junior level cloud networking. That's our junior level cloud. That's where I would start. Now, here's who the Certified Solution Architect Associate is good for. Your first step on the way to the Certified Solution Architect Professional, or for me, CCI like me, if I wanted to show that I had a certification on the cloud just to have something, that Certified Solution Architect Associate would be perfect for me because I could get a job in 3 minutes with it. Why? Because I'm a CCIE with 30 years architecture experience. So if you're very experienced, that AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate is perfect. What does it show? It shows a person like me that knows architecture, that knows how to design the network and the data center and the cloud, learn the AWS services. That's all it says. Now, if you had a Google Professional Cloud Architect or an Azure expert and you wanted an AWS cert, again, this would be the Certified Solution Architect Associate is a good cert. Now, if you don't have a tech background, this is nothing. So if you don't have a tech background, you need the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Again, the Certified Solution Architect Professional, when it comes to architecture, is still extremely basic compared to what we have to teach our people to be hired. It's extremely basic. Now, the Certified Solution Architect Professional exam is a challenging exam. AWS writes the questions in a way where the hardest part of the exam is trying to figure out what they're asking. And AWS's communication skills and writing is about the worst in the industry. The Azure communication, the Google communication documentation is about 1 million times better. It's much more like Cisco's or IBM. So if you've never been hired before, get the Certified Solution Architect Professional because it will help you get an interview. Remember, certifications don't help you get hired, but they do help you get an interview. And that interview is really, really, really important. So if you want to get hired, get the Certified Solution Architect Professional, get the interview, and make sure that you can back up that interview with knowledge of the network, the data center, our cloud, business acumen, communication skills, emotional intelligence, executive presence, those kind of skills. Those are your skills. So go after it, Percy. Go if you've been in it for a while, you can get the Certified Solution Architect Associate. It sort of says that you've learned the AWS things that you've already known. If you don't, and you're not new, get the Certified Solution Architect Professional. That's the right exam for you. And if you've got a professional certification with somebody else, just get the associate. Actually, if you guys are having fun, if you can hit the like button and put #CloudHired, and then please feel free to ask any more questions that you have. YRRM4X. Is it true that AZ is double as hard? I think they're all super simple. I don't think anyone's harder than the other. I think the hardest part with AWS exams is reading the questions because they're so poorly written. But I don't think any one of these exams is harder than the other. Not at all. Who else has a question? You guys are quiet today. Usually the world's swarming in with thousands of questions, and we love answering them. So nice to see so many people throughout the world. Who else has a question for me? Not used to you guys being so quiet. Asim Hans, considering you need a certification to get an interview, would you still be able to get hired by undertaking your course? Of course you could, because we'll get you the Certified Solution Architect Professional, which is our mine and entry-level certification, but we'll also give you the skills that you'll be able to be hired. So you're going to get a certification and trained. Like I said, the certifications, we have to do it to help you get an interview, but they're too basic to get hired. But you'll end up with a Certified Solution Architect Professional in our course, and we provide the training completely free. Y4, M4X, what are the 4 different types of CSAs? You have to tell me what you mean by CSA, because that has about 50 different definitions. And because you've seen data, AI architect, I don't know what you mean by CSA. So tell me what you mean by CSA, and I'll happily answer that. Sunny, you have to tell me what you mean by being a systems engineer. Some systems engineers basically work as architects. Like, for example, I spent a year or 2 or 3 at systems engineering at Cisco. What did I do? I met with clients. I asked about their business, their legal, their technical problems. I designed an end-to-end solution for them. And then I turned it over to a team of post-sales people to build it. That was an architect job, but that was called a systems engineer. But sometimes systems engineers are post-sales, and sometimes systems engineers are builders of things. So I don't know what kind of systems engineer you are. If you tell me that, I can give you some guidance. Alex Osio, does our program have a payment option? The answer is yes. The way the payment plan is accessed, let me do this myself. If we can have Jesse put a link to the course in the window, what happens is you click the course, and in order to purchase, it'll say $999 and then purchase. There's going to be a white box that says $999. If you want to access the payment plan, click anywhere in that white box and select 3 times $350 instead of $999, and you can use the payment plan. So Alex Osio, yes, we have a payment plan option. Select it by clicking anywhere in the white box where it says purchase for $999 and select 3 times $350. And yes, the coupon code that Jesse posted, the 20% will apply to every single payment. So purchase once, purchase on payments, it will be the same. Okay, what type of cloud solution architects? Okay, I wasn't sure whether you meant consulting systems architect, cloud solutions architect, certified. There's a million and one CSC abbreviations. So realistically, what we're talking about is as follows. What are the different types? Well, you can be somebody that focuses on networking. You can be someone that focuses on security. You can be someone that focuses on IAM. You could be someone that focuses on databases. You could be someone that focuses on big data. You could focus on solutions for healthcare, solutions for finance, solutions for transport. There's a million and one things that you can actually do. So big data, I mean, any of these things, architects. So why for Amex? I want you to think about it this way. Architecture is so specialized that there's a million people on an architecture team. There's a cloud network architect like me, and a cloud security architect, and a generic architect, and a cloud IAM architect, and a cloud big data architect. Be whatever you want to be. Whatever you want to be. That's the career. Okay, coming back to Sunny. I'm a systems engineer, validation and validation, integrating testing, mostly working on validating requirements from stakeholders by testing. Okay, Sunny. So now that I know that you're basically a QA engineer, now we got to basically tell you what to do. So, Sunny, when you are a QA engineer, it's kind of like being the sysops person. The assumption is that you are a really, really, really deep technical person. Now, as architects, we're really, really, really deep business executives that happen to be technical people. So you're going to have to do a few things. First is change your brand. You're going to have to change your brand to that of a more business person to become an architect. Then you're going to have to learn the right skills. Verification and testing is good, but we're about design. So you're going to have to learn all those systems from the network and all those systems in the data center, because that's what you're going to design. Then it's not just knowing how to design it. If you design it, you can't design a solution for which you don't have the requirements. So, Sonny, you're going to have to become an expert at requirements gathering. I trained medicine first. And because I practiced medicine, it made architecture really easy for me, because I know how to ask questions and get answers. So as an architect, you're going to have to be an expert on asking the right questions, because the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. If you can't properly interrogate the client without them knowing they're being interrogated, you won't have the information and the inputs to do the right design. So empathy, executive presence, communication skills are critical for that. Next, the design skills. Jesse, if you want to go back to the one that I'm still answering, the design skills that you have to learn. Then there's the presentation skills, because after you design it, you got to present it back to the customer and convince the customer they need it. So you got to present it back, and you got to document it as well. You have to have the client entertainment skills, because you're going to be spending plenty of time buying dinners and drinks and entertaining clients, whatever's appropriate in your country. So it's all about that. And then it's about your sales skills. So that's how you do it. Now, we have a program, our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, where we can transition you. But if you're not with us, that's what you need to do. You need to overcome the engineering brand that you have, especially if you're doing those QA verification and validation things. Build the business person brand, have the design skills, and then have all that executive business around you, and you will be good to go. So that's what it takes to get you a great, great, great job. Now, Jesse, you can bring in the next one. Lift Tech Sleep 911. I'm going for a software engineering to DevSecOps. Okay, good. Should you spend funding for security? Plus, I'll never do any CompTIA certifications. So, CompTIA certifications are good certifications. They're good questions, but the problem is they don't have a lot of value in the industry. Now, CompTIA is great if you want to work for the US government. They love that. But if you want to do DevSecOps, get a real security certification. Now, certifications don't get you hired, but some get you an interview. The CEH Master will help you. The CISSP will help you. The CCSP will help you, but stay away from CompTIA certs. They're not cheap. They're just as hard as anybody else. And, great for government jobs, but you can do the CISSP in the same amount of time as Security Plus. Remember, you've got to get an interview. The CISSP will get you a good interview. The average CISSP gets about $150,000 a year. The Security Plus is about $60,000. So it is a massive, massive difference between the Security Plus and this. Now, granted, these certs aren't going to get you hired anyway, but they will help you get an interview. But now look at building your brand. Why is Bitcoin worth $60,000? It's got no real value. Why is it worth $60,000? Because people believe it is. Why is a $1 bill different than a $100 bill? It's not more valuable. It's the same piece of paper because the perception is that it's more valuable. So the perception is that the Security Plus is nothing and the CISSP is a lot. In reality, they're probably the same darn exam. I've never taken the Security Plus, but I've taken and passed that CISSP, and it was basic as can be. Super, super basic. In fact, at Cisco one year, they said all USCs are going to become CISSPs. They brought in people to train us. 5 days later, I think 20,000 of us were CISSPs. It was a nothing exam. But the market perceives it as valuable. Oh my God, my friend Alonzo is here. Welcome, Alonzo. So that's really where I'm at, is making sure that you've got the right skills. So focus less on certification, focus more on the tech, and you will be amazing. My good friend Alonzo, so happy to see you. Same as my good friend Aqua, who's also on this call. That at some point in the next week or so, I will find a time for you to speak with you, because I can't wait to speak with you, Aqua. We're missing one person around the office, so I'm a little delayed. But Aqua, I will get back to you very soon. Now, Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. So, Brish, you've been working in AWS for the past few years, mostly on the data side. EMR, Glue, Athena, Redshift, and Lambda functions. That's great. Glad you're working on these things. You would like to expand your knowledge across to other services so you can expand solution skills. You're not that interested in a job change, so which course should you take? Well, I recommend the Cloud Architect Career Development Program because it's going to do the following. It will give you an extreme depth in new skills. It will teach you the leadership skills, and it will help you get promoted and do better things. So if you want to stay in your current job, great. If you want to get a future job, great. But it would be so much better if you were actually prepared to get a better job if and when you wanted it. So you're doing these things and you're having fun on the data side, great. What I would do if I worked with you, the fact that you're on these data things and you're doing what looks like a lot like the EMR and the Glue and the Redshift and the Athena, that's part of your big data architecture. It's not all of it, but it's a percentage of it. And you enjoy those things, if I was you, I'd become a cloud big data architect. You do that by becoming a cloud architect first, getting extra skills in the big data environment, maybe filling in some gaps on some of these things that may actually be missing, and you would have a phenomenal course. And we could work with you in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. We recently graduated a very great big data architect. He just took an extremely good job at a bank, and he's extremely, extremely happy. And he did a show with us and talked about data lakes on our YouTube channel a few weeks ago. And he's even helping us build a cloud big data architect program at some point in the future. But for now, and for the next 6 months, we're using our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and we're creating our specialties inside of this program. And we've been wildly, wildly, wildly successful. Shakir, everything in the cloud is based on RAID. So whether you're dealing with object storage, block storage, file storage, everything that you're going to get is going to be based upon RAID, because they're all storage area networks, and storage area networks are all RAID arrays somewhere. So the answer is everything is based upon RAID. Now that doesn't mean you can't take your virtual drives, which are on RAID systems, and then RAID them too. So when you get an EBS biome or a block storage biome, when you're dealing with EBS biomes in the cloud, you got to remember the cloud disk performance is not good. And what do I mean by that is, in my computer that I'm using right now, I have an NVMe RAID array in it, and I get 5 million IOPS. on my desktop computer that I'm streaming from right now. Now, if you get a provision IOPS volume, the max you can get is 64,000 IOPS. So realistically speaking, it takes hundreds of them to equal the performance I have in my own desktop. So I want you to understand that the concept of network performance and data center performance and cloud performance, it's not even close. The cloud has much lower performance than we can do in the data center, but the cloud has massive agility. And that agility in the cloud is so miraculous and so transformational to business. I mean, it is amazing. So we're getting our drives secure coming that are on RAID arrays, but on the cloud, because the performance of these drives is so bad, we may actually have to do a RAID 0 or a RAID 10 with the EBS volumes just to get acceptable enough disk performance. But we're working around the cloud technology. So yes, all these volumes are based upon RAID. Everything that you get in the cloud is going to be on RAID. And it's going to be some version of RAID 5. Everything is going to be RAID 5. So, or version of it. Now, you're not going to be able to use RAID 5 when you make block storage RAID arrays due to latency. But at the far end, everything's going to be some version of RAID 5 because it provides speed, performance, and redundancy. So yes, all these storage classes are all based on RAID. Every technology that you have in every cloud provider, every virtual hard drive, every logical hard drive is all a storage area network somewhere that's connected via fiber channel or iSCSI, and it's all RAID. You're more than welcome, Sabish. Hope to be working with you soon. Percy Duckworth, what does a cloud architect do in a typical day? Oh, what a great question. You know, Percy, I swear I spent 6 months where I think the only thing I did as an architect was bought sushi for lunch and bought Italian nice dinners and steaks and cocktails for the evening. I'm not joking. For 6 months of my career, all I did was buy lunches and dinners and hung out on site and talked to people. And for example, I was working on a very, very, very big project as an architect, and it was going to take about 6 months to baseline the systems, to figure out what the company even had long before we could do a transformational design for them. So I had about 20 engineers, at one point 50, but for the most of the time, we had 16 to 20 engineers. And they, obviously, when you do proof of concepts, the architects or designers, we don't touch anything. So you have lots and lots and lots of engineers there. So, you know, what did I do? I'd go in around 10 o'clock. I would take all my engineers to lunch. I'd go back. I'd talk to the executives for an hour or so. I'd go back and be there to take care of my engineers. One of my engineers was sad. I'd go over there, use some emotional intelligence, raise the energy. This next engineer had a problem with their marriage. So, you know, I'd go in there and, you know, do what I needed to make the person happy. The next 3 people needed to be motivated. So I'd motivate a bunch of people. And then at the end of the day, I'd take them out for dinner and drinks to keep them motivated. So, you know, that's at least half of what you do as an architect, is just bringing out the best in others. So typical day for me, get up, make a few phone calls, write a document, you know, either take a client to lunch or, you know, go work out because I've got an easy day, then go back to the office, do some documentation, maybe have a presentation or two, then maybe take a client to dinner or drinks. That's what I did. 80% of what I did was schmoozing. 20% of what I did was actually presenting and things like that, or documenting. But schmoozing is a big part of the job. Okay, Shakir. So it's an interesting question, and I get this a lot. So if you're working as an architect in an organization, once you do the architecture design, what do you do the rest of the time? It never stops, Shakir, ever. So you make it's not like you're going to go to most companies, and let's say you wanted to approach a big bank and say, "Hi, big bank, I'm your cloud architect. I'm going to shut all your systems down, and you're not going to work or be in business for the next 3 years. We're going to design you the perfect solution, and then we're going to do it. But you're out of business for the next 3 years." It's not like that, Shakir. Shakir, it's like, okay, what improvements can we make to the business? What could you design to make improvements to the business? And it's going to be incremental. So you're going to make one thing. By the time you roll out the new design that you deployed, there's going to be a new design in a new project, and a new design in a new project. First, it might be, the website. Then it might be a collaboration platform. Then it's going to be a wireless platform. Then it's going to be customer relationship management. That never goes away, Shakir. There's always more work, and more work. There's always more innovation. Businesses hire architects to have competitive advantage. And businesses always have competitors. So the architects are in a nonstop. Okay, fix one thing. Oh, great, that worked. Now let's do something else. This worked. Okay, let's do more of this. This didn't work. Let's do less of that and more of something else. Nonstop innovation, Shakir. We never, ever, ever run out of work to do. Axel Osio, would being an introvert and having some social anxiety be problematic? It's an interesting question. I'm an introvert, even though you would never believe it. In fact, when we had one of the VPs from NVIDIA on our Friday show, the world was confused. They're like, I know Mike, he's the ultimate introvert. And that's true. So can you get past being an introvert? The answer is yes. And I know a lot of introverts in these great positions. So having social anxiety, yeah, that's a challenge. Now, in our program, we cover that and we address it. So, Axel, let me tell you what I do. So, emotional intelligence is the ability to manage your emotions and other people's emotions. So, in our emotional intelligence section, we do two things. We teach the traditional emotional intelligence like Goldman would teach you, and we're good at that. But realistically speaking, that's not all of it. So, I want to make this clear. We teach some meditation. I use a type of breathing called box breathing or pranayama. That same breathing is being used by Navy SEALs, by Olympic gold medalists, as well as, tactical people as well. So we use that. We use some yoga in there for meditation because we use it to create a mind-body connection. And because I practiced medicine and I went to Philadelphia in school in Philadelphia, and because I had the opportunity to do my clinical rotations, my psych rotations at the University of Pennsylvania, where David Burns, MD, the founder of cognitive behavior therapy, him and Albert Ellis were both at Penn when I was there. And guess what? I learned cognitive behavior therapy. And because it is so good at the reductions of anxiety and fear and depression and PTSD, we actually include that, my training that comes from being a medical professional, in our program. So we know how to nip somebody's social anxiety in the bud. We know how to get people ready to give great presentations. I've got lots of performance tuning and lots of performance coaching experience and lots of medical experience in bringing out the best in others and treating anxiety. So we've got that covered in the program because, yes, it would be a problem otherwise, Axel. Y4M4X, emotional intelligence is one of the most critical skills here. So critical skills. So, when it actually comes down to it, if we looked at a rank of a 1 to a 10, coding would be like a 0.5 of a 1. Emotional intelligence would be like a 20 out of 10 in terms of criticality. So it's just so important. You can make up for lack of technical skills with the right emotional intelligence, executive presence, and communication skills easily. But you still have to have a baseline of tech skills. You can't get these jobs by just being a good schmoozer. I don't want to mislead you, but I'm going to tell you that 50% of what's necessary to get hired and paid a lot more is completely related to communication skills. It's that important. In fact, when I get people and they say, Mike, I want to take your course, but not do the soft skills, I say, don't bother. And they're like, what? I'm like, I don't want to take your money if you're not going to get hired. So if you're telling me you don't want to do my soft skills, I'm like, just don't take my training. And then I say, prepare for a cloud engineer role, but don't take my training if you don't want to do the soft skills. Why? I can't get anybody hired as an architect without working on soft skills, except for a technical solution architect. And that's the lowest paid version. So you've got to communicate like an executive. You've got to be emotionally intelligent. You've got to present yourself well. You can't become a cloud architect by being a techie. You have to be half techie, half business leader. So it's super important. You're going to have to sell your designs. You can't do that without emotional intelligence. You're going to have to present your designs. You're going to have to lead a team of people that are tired and burned out and don't want to do the job. You're going to have to lead people that don't work for you, because you're going to be leading a group of cloud engineers to build your design, but they don't work for you. They work for an engineering manager, which means you can't discipline them or fire them, which means you have to be such a good leader that you can convince people to want to do their jobs for you when you can't discipline them. That is the hardest. That matrix management, that dotted line management, that is the absolute hardest thing in the entire world. It is the most critical architect skill. Master that, and wow, watch your career. It'll be like a rocket ship once you have the tech and the business piece. In fact, when people tell me they have a hard time getting hired, I ask them a few questions. I ask them, the first question is, tell me about yourself. It's the first one. If the person can't answer that in 60 seconds, I know they're not getting hired, regardless of their technical abilities. And then I ask technical questions, and from there, it becomes really easy to figure out who the engineers are, who the architects are, who has the potential to be the architect, who does not. I say this in my heart, anybody can be an architect, anybody can be an engineer, anybody can be a doctor, anybody can be what they want. I'm living proof. I practiced internal medicine, and 6 months later, I was the lead architect at the world's largest internet service provider. It's not your background. It's what's in your heart. How hard are you willing to work? I had a student, he was a Nigerian student, an amazing kid. Richard was his name. He was with me for 3 weeks, and he got hired by AWS. He never worked in tech in his life. Never. What's so amazing about Richard? He came into this program. The first day he asked me, and we track where students were. By the third day, he was 30% into the program. We had less of a program in those days, but he was 30% by the third day. By the second week, he had done 60% of the program. He booked me for 3 private interviews and was hired immediately by AWS. Why? He worked hard. He didn't have the background, but he had heart. He had honor. He had integrity. And there was nothing going to stop Richard back until he was successful. That's what it takes. When I get people that are from developing nations, and I'm from a developing nation myself, and they've fought hard their whole life, they just get through and win. But you know what? It's not just like that. It's people that come from great backgrounds like Jesse that have brought up where perfectly in a great environment that also win. Like my good friend Alonzo, that's an incredible cloud architect. It doesn't matter where you come from. It matters how hard you're willing to work. I promise you, all of you can become the best cloud architects in the world. All of you can become the best enterprise architects. Any of you could become DevOps engineers. Any of you can become whatever you want. Just get out of your way. Believe in yourself. Believe in your heart. Run hard. Run fast. Remove every distraction. And if I could give you one piece of advice, it's to remove the distractions. You want to be a cardiologist, you study medicine, you study the heart. You want to be a cardiologist, you don't study veterinary medicine, you don't study skating, you don't study gymnastics. Medicine and cardiology, straight. You want to be a cloud architect, learn architecture, straight. You want to be DevOps, learn DevOps, straight. Don't stop and pass go like we used to say in Monopoly. Don't pick up a different career. Just go out there and win, and you'll do great. Asim Hans, since your cloud architect has live classes included, is there any specific schedule? Well, the next in-person class will be tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. UK time, 6:30 p.m. India Standard Time. Now, having said that, Asim Hans, we have a very flexible environment. So here's what we do. We have 2 live architecture trust sessions twice per week, and architecture doesn't change. It's always the same. So, tomorrow we might do a banking architecture. Friday, we might do a retail architecture. The week after that, it could be a big tech company architecture. The class after that, it'll be another one. We'll cycle through the architectures. So when you sign up for the course, there's a self-paced component. These are the videos that you do, the homework assignments that you turn that we give you feedback on. These don't change. They're on your pace. You can start them and end them at any time. Now, the live classes we do twice per week, you participate in them, and you will learn more in the first class, I promise you, than you probably have in the last 6 months. That's what most students tell me. And then the lab components you can do on your own. So while I'd say the next class is tomorrow at 9 a.m., even if you were to sign up on Wednesday, you would just get rolled into the Friday class, and everything else is self-paced and you'd still be successful. But the next class is tomorrow at 9 a.m., and we're going to have a really, really, really fun class because we added a lot of students in the last week, and a bunch of them sent me emails and they say, we want to be challenged. And guess what? We're going to give it to them, and our students are going to do awesome, and they're going to have lots and lots of fun, whether they be my students be in the US, the UK, India, Nigeria, Cameroon, South Africa, Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, Panama, Peru. It doesn't matter. They're all going to have a great time tomorrow at 9 a.m. Hope you join us there as well. Anurag Das. I work in AWS customer service, which is mainly related to building. Good. You badly want to move into a tech role for AWS. How do you move forward? Well, quite simply, you get the skill. And so there's two things, Anurag. In an ideal world, I would say we get you trained up as a cloud architect, and then you instantly apply for a cloud architect job at AWS and get hired. I would love to tell you that. But what I'm going to tell you is most likely that's not going to be the easiest thing. If I were to train you and give you the skills, chances are Azure will hire you. Chances are that Google will hire you. Chances are that AWS is going to see you as a customer service rep, and you're going to have a hard time getting out of there. Now, Azure will hire you. And not only will Azure hire you, they will pay you a fortune to steal you from AWS, and they'll be thrilled to do so. And Google will do the same to steal you from AWS. And Nutanix will, and Palo Alto will, and Dell will, and Cisco will, and Verizon will, and everybody else that has a cloud will be there. But there's this concept of typecasting in actors and actresses where, let's take Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not going to do love stories. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not going to do business executive movies. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, these are action stars. And if they want to do something else, it's not their brand. It doesn't mean they're not great actors. It doesn't mean they're not the most capable people. It just means it's not their brand. So AWS, even if we get you perfectly trained, may actually still see you as customer service. But we could try. But what I'll tell you is this: if we trained you up, Azure will be in a huge rush to get you. Google will be in a huge rush, and the other cloud providers. Cloud providers love stealing you from their competitors. In fact, all the competitors will basically steal each other's people, because if I take you away from AWS and I'm Azure, I did two things. I hurt AWS because they lost a valuable resource, and I got somebody they spent the money in training. So in the art of war, they say if you've got a bad enemy, take their food away. How do you take your enemy's food away? You take their good people. So Anurag Das, if you learn cloud architecture, you go to Google and Azure, and wow, they'll take great care of you. Well, AWS, I don't know. And it's not because AWS isn't a great company, and it's not because AWS doesn't have great business people, and it's not because AWS doesn't have great leaders. It's just that once you're typecast in a certain role, it's really hard to get out of it, which is why I caution people about getting SysUp certifications, for example. Once you get typecast, you got to work extra hard to get out of them. So you can definitely do it, Anurag does, but that's how you do it. Secure Devs, thanks for answering the question regarding the job, but at the same time, what is the probability of getting a job as a qualified Asian person? Almost 100%. I was recently asked to support a customer in Japan from the US. Their amount of these jobs, I don't think you can possibly understand, is sky high. Hundreds of thousands of, we can't hire anybody because there's nobody qualified. The question is not, can I get a job? The question is, how many hours will it take if I'm qualified to get a job? Can I get hired in one day, or is it going to take me 2 weeks? I get 3 to 5 job offers a day, and I've yet to send out an application. I make a YouTube video, I get 2 job offers. I make a LinkedIn post, I may get 2 job offers. It's that hard to find someone that's qualified. Anybody that tells you they can't get hired is telling you they can't get hired for a reason. They are not qualified. Qualified does not mean configuration. Qualified means the knowledge of design, end-to-end design, and those business skills. Nothing to get you hired, Shakir. Nothing. You just have to learn the right skills. With the right skills, it's easy to get hired. It's like asking me, can I get hired as a doctor? Well, if you're a physician, yes. If you're not a physician, it's going to be really hard. So when we're dealing with a career that's in such demand and such short supply, and we can't find anyone, it's not hard getting you a cloud architect job or a solution architect job. It's making sure that you do the right cloud architect career development, that you've got a cloud computing career development plan, that you're getting the right cloud computing career training. So when you go for that cloud computing job role, you're prepared for it, that you've got the perfect technical career development program, that you have the skills for a cloud architect career because you are an actual cloud architect. So if you want to know how to get the first cloud architect job, just be great. There are so many positions, and it's impossible to hire someone because there's so many, and there's almost no one that has to do the job. So go out there, get trained with me, get trained on your own. I don't care, but go get yourself cloud hired. The career is amazing, but every day that you're not working is costing you a small fortune. So run fast towards your goal. I mean, if an average cloud architect earns $600 a day, but a good one can earn $1,500 a day, like an enterprise architect, a good transformational architect, every month that you're not working at $1,000 a day is $30,000 lost earnings. Just do it. Go find what you want and just go do it. Like Nike, the commercial says, figure out exactly the kind of architect you want and go do it. You can take my program, great. If not, take one of my free How to Get Your First Tech Job webinars, and I tell you everything to do on your own. Now, granted, it'll cost you more on your own than us because we're doing it mostly as a charitable mission, but go out there and do it. Just go be what you want. There's plenty of jobs. You will not have a hard time getting one if you have the right skill. But the right skills are not sysops, it's not DevOps, it's not coding, it's not Python, it's not scripting. The right skill is design. Design. And it means you have to know the network and the data center because that's all the stuff you're going to take and migrate it. And you'll be good to go. Just go do it. Go after your dreams. You'll be very happy that you did. Nobody is ever sad that they didn't conquer their dreams. And I have a very, very strong feeling for this about conquering your dreams. I practiced medicine for a long period of time. I know how the game ends. I've seen a lot of people die. And let me tell you, every time I saw somebody die in my youth, it rang a bell in my head and it reminded me that life is short. And when people die, let me tell you, here's what they say. I wish I was a doctor so I could help people just like you. I wish I spent more time with my family members so I could help people just like you. Life is short. Go conquer your dreams and go win. So that's what I recommend. Percy, you're 25 from Cheney, India. You have no technology experience. What advice do I have for people like you? I have the following. Learn the network, learn the data center, build your business communication skills, your emotional intelligence, executive presence, and go get hired. That's my advice. Take a course like ours and go get hired, and you'll be good. Lift Tech Sleep 911. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. Outside of your programs, what do you recommend for DevOps or solution engineering training? Well, they're totally exact opposites. So I'll give you a solution architect training. Now, like I said, our course is by far the cheapest. And if you don't take our course, I'm going to give you a list of exactly what to do. Now, I promise you, you will not get away outside of my training for less than $25,000. We do it for $800. Outside of us, it's going to cost you $25,000 to $50,000 to get a job like this. And you know what? If you don't want to do it with us and you want to pay the $25,000, guess what? It's way worth it. I'm going to say this again. If it costs you $100,000 for training outside of us, it is way worth it. Because if it raises your salary $200,000 a year over the next 30 years, it's $6 million. Guess what? It doesn't matter. So I gave you the simplest solution, which is our $800 course. But you want to know outside of my program? Here's what I recommend. I recommend you go to Global Knowledge and you take a CCNA course and a CCNP course. That will give you the fundamentals of networking. Now that's going to cost you 10 grand, but at least it will teach you. No, I'm not going to recommend you dummy. I'm not going to recommend any of that garbage. I'm going to recommend you go to Global Knowledge or the Cisco Networking Academy, and for about $10,000, you will get the fundamental network knowledge that you need. Now, if you're with us, again, our course is $800, but if you're not, next what I want you to do is I want you to go get VMware training. VMware training will teach you containers and virtualization, and you will be good. Again, about $3,000 to $4,000, it'll get you there. Now, I also want you to get some security training. If you're with us, we cover the CISSP level security and then some. But if not, take a CISSP prep course. Again, it's going to be about $2,500 to $5,000, but it will give you some knowledge in there. Now, after that, you need to learn architectural design, and none of these training courses do that. So if you're not with us, go take a TOGAF course, again, from a Global Knowledge. It'll be a few $1,000s, but you will learn. It's not the garbage like the people make with their home webcams where they've never done the job before. This is real training. So we've got the tech piece covered for about 20 grand. Now, if you're with us, again, all this is covered. But if you're not with us, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a Goldman class on emotional intelligence, a couple $1,000s, well worth it. Then what I want you to do is take a speakeasy course, talk so people listen. It's an introductory presentation course, about $3,000 for the 2-3 days that you'll take. That will help you. So now you've got emotional intelligence and presentation. Now you need some business acumen training. So if you're with us, it's covered. If not, go to an MBA program and learn some of these business acumen skills. You don't have to take the whole course, but learn these skills. Next, learn marketing. Next, learn sales. You can take lots of great sales training. The Dale Carnegie Institute can do it a few $1,000s later, and you'll get it. Now, we've covered business acumen. We've covered sales. We've covered emotional intelligence. We've covered training. You're still going to need some executive presence training. There's no way around that. Get yourself an executive coach. It's about $400 an hour. In about 10 hours, you will have the skill. Now, this is what I did. And then I went and took about another $150,000 on top of those things of communication and soft skills training. All in all, between Cisco and me, I spent $250,000 on soft skills training, and it paid for itself within 12 months. So Live, Tech, Sleep, that is how I recommend you do this outside of my program. So Live, Tech, Sleep 911, do you know why I created this program? Because I spent $20,000 for quality certification training 25 years ago, back in 1998. And that's what it takes to get real training. And I knew that if I put something together that every man and woman and child could afford in every country in the world, no one had any excuses for not getting the job they want and not having the financial security. I don't need to work. I've been completely retired. I created this program for that reason. So Live, Tech, Sleep 911, that is my recommendation to become a solution architect if you don't take our training. And it is a fantastic training, a fantastic question you asked. And like I said, I don't care how you get to the results. You can do it with us, and we'd love to help you. You can do it on your own, and we'll still be thrilled to have you. And if we gave you the guidance on how to get there with somebody else's training, that's okay too. I don't really care. But understand, we worked really hard to take a $25,000 to $50,000 course and shrink it into something we can charge $800 for. How did I do it? I got to tell you right now, I spent 50 grand on voice data and video gear. I have specialty lighting. We're using a 6K camera right now. We're using a 32-core workstation with a 0.5 terabyte of RAM and a Quadro A6000 card just to stream to you right now. We've got RAID arrays everywhere. So we record everything in extreme definition. We've got huge securities, firewalls, servers everywhere. We do it because we want you to get hired and we want you to have a career, and we don't really want you to think about paying for training. We're a single day's pay, but we're the only people that are a single day's pay. But guess what? You can still win. So go out there and win. Train with us. Train on your own. Just go do it and just go win. That's all I care is that you get hired. That's all that matters. Don't have any regrets later. Win, win, win. Heart, mind, body, brain, love, all into one singular focus, and you'll get there. Doesn't matter what it is. Interesting question. Wayne Lowe. What are the differences between working as an in-house cloud architect versus working for AWS or Azure? This is a good question. So when you work for AWS or Azure, Your main goal is to sell the customer on adopting the solution that you made. When you work at the company, your main job is convincing the company to adopt the solution that you made. But there's a difference. When you work for AWS or Azure and you present yourself to the client's not going to trust you. The client is going to know that if you work for AWS, you're an expert on AWS. The client's going to know if you work for Azure, you're an expert for Azure. But they can't completely trust you because you're paid to sell. And if you tell your customer when you work at AWS that don't buy this, it's the wrong solution, I don't know. Now, I have told customers in the past, don't buy this. And Cisco backed me up. But Cisco was the best tech company in the entire world. When I said at Cisco to a customer, they said, should I buy this? And I said, no. My manager at Cisco was like, thanks for being a trusted advisor, Mike. But that was Cisco. And those were different times. The CEO, John Chambers, was probably the best leader I've ever seen in my life. And I was able to say, no, customer, don't buy it. It's not in your best interest. But the reality is, in most cases, most people will not have the job security or the capability to do that. So when you work for an AWS, it's going to be transactional. When you work for a Google, it's going to be transactional. Let me come in, do your thing, and get the heck out of there. When you work for a big bank as an architect, here's what you do. You design the system, and you collaborate with AWS, Azure, Google, Nutanix, IBM. You're going to be collaborating with everybody because you're going to build the best thing. You're going to design it, and as soon as it's designed, you're going to be thinking about the next design and the next design. But in your case, Wayne Lowe, if you work for a bank, for example, you're always going to be focusing on that bank. Whereas if you work at a vendor, like I've spent most of my career, and I've worked for a bank too, at the vendor, it's like, okay, I took care of this hospital, now I got to go to this hospital, now I got to go to this hospital. It's just like a transactional thing. It's like McDonald's. I did one, the next. It's like a treadmill of architectures that just never end. Whereas if you work at one company, then realistically speaking, you'll be just doing the same thing again and again. It's always a new transformation. Both jobs are great. Both are amazing. Mark Barry, you can take a moment to say that any technology vendor you don't appreciate, and I am totally good with that. We've all had our experiences with lots of vendors. Jesse Murdoch, God, my 25-year-old prodigy. My uncle wants me to get a Jupiter switch to experiment at home. Do I think this is worthwhile? Here's the thing, Jesse. You're a cloud architect. You should know switching. Now, whether it's a Cisco switch or a Juniper switch, it is irrelevant to me. With a switch, you've got VLANs, you've got private VLANs, you've got spanning tree, you've got trunking, and it's all the same on any vendor. So, Jesse, it goes back to this. Learn how to drive. So, it's really weird. I hear people use this term, I'm an AWS solutions architect. Do you know who's an AWS solutions architect? The people that work for AWS, and the only ones. There's no other AWS solutions architects in the world. Which, Jesse, by the way, when we see AWS solutions architect as a job description or AWS Cloud Practitioner, we know it's a fake resume and we trash it. So, Jesse, I know that you would never do that because I know who you work for. But I just want to make this really, really, really clear. When people have an AWS solutions architect on the resume as a job, the hiring manager knows to trash it because we know it's fake. Only AWS has AWS solution architects. I am a network architect. I am not a Cisco architect. I'm a network architect. Cisco doesn't have architects. Network architects. Cisco has network architects. Cisco has enterprise architects. Cisco has solution architects. Cisco has technical solution architects, like any other business. But I am not a Cisco architect. I am a network architect. I am not an AWS architect. I am a cloud architect. Now, it could choose to be a solution architect that only knows AWS. But what happens with the hybrid cloud? What happens with the multi-cloud? What happens with anything that really makes sense? So, Jesse, learn switching. If you get a Cisco switch, great. If you get a Riverstone switch, great. If you get a Juniper network switch, great. If it's an HP switch, it doesn't matter. Get a switch. Start looking at those layer 2 BPDUs or spanning tree messages. Start looking what's going on in the MAC address table. Explore the flooding of unknown MAC addresses. It's all good, Jesse. It is all wonderful, 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 wonderful tech things for you to learn. Seriously, seriously wonderful. Asim Hines, can I please speak at the live AWS bootcamp? Are those exclusively live classes and do they prepare you? Okay, Asim, I got to tell you, there's two separate things you're asking. There is our training, you're asking about certification and you're asking versus getting hired. In our live training sessions, we do the following. We teach you how to do end-to-end system design. That is our special. I am the only cloud architect that's making cloud architect training out there. The rest of the people have been cloud engineers and they made up a job title and they're making stuff on their webcams. They are certification providers. In our live training, we teach you architecture. Now, these are live. Now, our certified solution architect professional training is covered in our architecture training that we do live, but we also have like a 30-hour additional, 20 to 30-hour additional module that you do on your own. So yes, you're prepared for the certification, but the certification piece, because it's the least important part of the process, we let you do on your own. Now, what we do in class is the stuff that's going to get you hired. We will get you through the certification because it helps you get an interview. But understand, the certification is so irrelevant other than the interview. So in our live training, we teach you the stuff that gets you hired. Now, the stuff that makes you hired makes it easy for you to pass the Certified Solution Architect Professional. But we've got a separate set of training that you do for the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Asim, our world is getting you hired and getting you paid more and teaching you how to interview and teaching you how to raise your salary and giving you the skills to be the best. The certification piece, look, I could find you a $15 certification course. Heck, you do our AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional free on our YouTube channel. It's completely free. And get a book from us for $9.99, which I can give you a coupon and you can have it free. I don't care. That is not going to get you hired. What will get you hired is learning what we teach you in the program. So our classes are live, and in these live classes, we teach the architectural design principles. We have to do that live, and here's the reason. As an architect, no one's going to hand you a piece of paper like this and say, here's what I need you to go build, architect. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to speak to that client, ask 1,000,001 questions, learn about their business, learn about their goals. When you ask these questions, then and only then will you know what to design. So my students, when they do live training, they have to ask me the questions just like a real architect. To get the Cloud Architect questionnaire down, and we provide a questionnaire. And our Cloud Architects learn how to design and ask the right questions. So yes, we'll get you there. But I want you to understand the certification part is the least important part of the program. Because I can get you certified. In fact, you could have all 10 certifications and you're still not getting a Cloud Architect job. But I could train you for the skill and get you hired in 4 months. That's nothing. So, or 8 months if you've got a no tech background. That's the difference. It is not, the certification piece. The certification gets you an interview. It's an admission ticket to the interview. It's an admission ticket to the party. What makes you successful at the party? Having a personality, having something special. So I hope I answered your question there, Asim House. Our live training covers architecture training, get hired training, how to interview training, how to earn more money, how to present yourself, how to design systems. Those are live because that's the stuff that you really need. The Certified Solution Architect Professional, the training we do live will make that nothing for you. I mean, silly easy. But we also provide you very dedicated, both written and video training for those things to make sure you're successful on both. Not only the giving the skills to be hired, but also getting the skills for the interview, which is the certification. Mark Berry just spent 3 hours with AT&T Tech on how to set up your home router. Honestly, Mark, I've spent 12 hours actually teaching the network engineers at Verizon that they had routers that they didn't even know about. So no vendor is great. But, AT&T tries their best. Verizon tries their best. There's a lot of complexities that go into these technologies. And they all have their warts. So Brish, absolutely. And we update the class. So for example, We've just done a complete and total refilm of the class. We've added an incredible amount of content, and realistically speaking, we are adding content by the days. So the answer is yes, we update the class and students have access to future updates. They only buy the course once. We don't want to take somebody's information back, because what if somebody wants to go back to the content a year later because they have a big project that needs it? So of course we don't take that away. Future updates all included. Asim, you're more than welcome. I know I'm passionate about this topic, but it's really important to me because I've been working in this industry forever. And before I decided to start this company, I got to tell you, I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, and not a single one of them was hireable. And most of them had a certified solution architect professional. So that's why I decided we had to fix this. Certification training is the name of the service and how to configure it. And we architects don't configure anything. So it's like completely irrelevant, but it does help you get an interview. So we give you the preparation for that. Are there any other questions? Oh, Eric, do we have any weekend classes? The answer is not normally. Occasionally we do a specialty thing on the weekend. We run some specialty training, but otherwise we're weekday based. Now we do record our classes, because sometimes not everybody can attend every class, but realistically speaking, just keep track about that, most of our classes are done during weekdays. Emmanuel Busam, what's the difference between a cloud consultant and a cloud architect? Well, Emmanuel, that is a great question. And Emmanuel, it's not going to be the easiest answer. And the reason it's not going to be the easiest answer is going to be as follows. When it comes to consulting, it could be anything. A cloud architect is a cloud consultant. But a management consultant that's only focusing on the business could also be a cloud consultant. And a cloud consultant could be an expert on just security. A cloud consultant could be an expert on adoption of the cloud. A cloud consultant could be literally anything. So consulting used to mean lack of steady work. I'm not joking, but I spent years as consulting. What is the architect job? It's really a consulting job. As an architect, you're going to go with a client, you're going to ask them about their business, you're going to ask them about their goals, you're going to ask them about their challenges, and you're going to craft a solution. Now, your solution may involve technology, it may involve process redesign, workflow redesign, all the same things that management consultants do. So actually, your question is an exceptionally good one. When people ask, what is a cloud consultant? Well, the reason I can't answer that is I don't know, because a cloud consultant could be anything. It could be a lawyer that specializes on clouds. It could be a financial analyst that specializes on clouds. It could be a cloud architect. So consultant means nothing, because it could be one of a million things. Kind of like the word solution architect. There are solution architects that will put carpet in your house. There are solution architects that make sandwiches, and they're called solutions. So cloud consultant, solution architects, kind of a garbage term. So I'm not trying to down what you're saying. I'm saying I just don't know what it means. But I will tell you this. Architects do consulting. And I worked as a management consultant for a little while. And when I did management consulting, that McKinsey kind of consulting, we meet with a client and you ask the questions and you do a business redesign and you design a new business architecture and they include the steps. I do the same job as a cloud architect. So really a cloud architect job is a consulting job. So if you've done any Big Four consulting, that's the cloud architect. That's what I'm talking about. Now, the cloud architect's tool is the tech to bring about the change. But if you're a business architect like I've been as well, where you're doing business process redesign, it's no different than dropping in the tech, which is no different than enterprise architecture. It's all consulting. And that's why your question, Emmanuel, is such a good question. It's all consulting. And that's why I'm saying consultants don't code, because they don't. Consultants don't configure, because it's consulting. So great question. Great marrying the two together. Seriously, great job there with that question. That's the kind of question that really shows you understand the role. Because if it's not clear to you where consulting ends and architecture begins, you've got it, because it's not going to be clear to anyone. And that's why I say these are executive roles. They're really like management consulting roles. And when I was a management consultant, you know what I did? cloud architecture and network architecture. And when I was a network architect, you know what I did? Management consulting. So like I said, you can be on the leadership side, you can be on the deeper tech side. The closer you get to the leadership side, the more respect, the less hours, and the more you're going to be paid. So it's a matter of what makes you happy. I don't care what it is that makes you happy. Find something that makes you happy. If you can smack that like button, if you're having a good time, if you can type hashtag cloud hired, I know that, because we spend a lot of time trying to be out there for you guys in the community, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. So hit that like button. Let me know with the cloud hired that you're having fun. And guess what? If you've got more questions, we're happy to answer them. Anything we can do to help you guys build the best cloud computing careers. I'm having fun too, Percy Duckworth. Emmanuel, you're more than welcome. So, anybody else have questions for me? Please answer some questions. Alonzo Coleman, Cloud Hired. Yeah, you awesome. Victor, Aqua, it's always so good to see you. Shakira, Cloud Hired. Excellent. Anybody have any other questions for me? If you've got them, we're happy to answer them. Lift Tech Sleep 911. How would you modify a senior software engineer's resume to reflect personal project experience related to a solution architect? Okay, well, what we'd have to do is we'd have to pull a lot of the coding out, and we'd have to look at the things that you actually did. So, did you deliver presentations? If so, we'd have to put them on there. Did you ever meet with did you have to sell your product to the CXO level executives? We'd have to pop that on there. Did you build documentation? We should put that on there. Did you architect new software to solve a business problem? We'd put that on there. Did you manage a team of people? If so, we'd put that on there. If you were doing software work, Eric, of course, we offer a certificate. If you are doing software design work, can you talk about the design versus the implementation? Maybe you did some application architecture. Maybe you started with the client, figured out what the business goals were, and then designed an application. That would be there. Any performance things that you've won, we've put there. If, for example, all your background is software and software really has nothing to do with this kind of stuff, we'd have to create like a Go Cloud Architects or a research and development section. And in there, you're going to have to talk about server virtualization and containers and firewalls and load balancers and LAMP stacks, Active Directory work, talk about why and how you're building clouds. Got to do that. Got to get some public speaking on your resume, even if it's just with Toastmasters. Got to get some writing on your resume or publications on your resume. Got to get some ROI modeling on there. So you'd have to talk about some business acumen and communication. You'd have to craft an executive summary on there that shows you as a business leader. We'd have to change all the terminology on your resume to make it look more executive and much less like a software engineer. So it would be a total transformation. I do it all the time. We've got a resume improvement module sitting inside of our program. And for example, the biggest thing, the hardest ones to fix are the most technically oriented ones, because realistically speaking, we need to make it look much more business oriented, much more solution oriented, much more executive oriented. So those are the high level of things what we would do. We also have a resume mistakes video that's out there. I'm going to make another one. And I may actually do a resume workshop for free on YouTube Live if there's enough people that ask for it, where we teach people how do you fix an engineering resume to make it look like an architect. But my team is not sure if they want to allow me to do that publicly. So I'm not sure if I can do that or not, but we've been discussing that too. That is some of the special proprietary things that we actually have inside of our training program is our resume modification techniques. But those are the main highlights of the things that you need to do. Eric, yes, we offer a certificate. Wayne Lowe, is a lot of traveling necessary as a cloud architect, or is the option to stay within your city? Wayne Lowe, it depends, and it depends on how good you are. And it also depends on the environment. So I will tell you, as an architect, realistically speaking, I usually travel about 300,000 miles a year, but I'm not a regular architect. And what I mean by that is there's very few architects that can actually do what I do. So I am a business executive that just happens to be good at tech. I'm a doctor that's good at tech, so to speak. So I'm a nurse practitioner, practiced internal medicine. I'm an MBA. I'm a management and a strategy consultant. And my ability to walk into a room and have a discussion with a billionaire CEO and instantly understand their problems and being able to craft a technology solution that no one's ever done before, for me, I'm traveling every day. For the average solutions architect or cloud architect that basically meets with the client and does design, there is travel because there's not that many customers in your city. Now, if you happen to live in New York City, you may not travel. If you happen to live in Raleigh, North Carolina, you may not need to travel. If, for example, you lived in Dallas, Texas, or Richardson, Texas, or San Jose, California, you don't need to travel. But if you're like me and you want to live in Palm Beach, Florida, or Port St. Lucie, Florida, or something like that, chances are you're going to travel because there's not enough organizations in a city that need a cloud architect. But it really depends on the city. So who's going to pay a $200,000 a year resource? People that have big technology issues. Where I live in Florida, not a lot of big tech companies. Now, having said that, a lot of cloud companies and a lot of cloud architects are still working and earning a good living in Florida. Why? They're supporting clients that are elsewhere. But whether you have to travel or not is going to be based upon how good of an architect you are. The better your architect, the better your skills, the more the world's going to want you, and the more of a rare resource you are. When I was, when I was doing heavy-duty architecture work, one day I gave a speech in DC, then later that day I gave a speech in San Francisco, the next day I gave a speech in the UK, the next day I gave a speech in Dubai, and the day after that I was literally speaking in, I was literally speaking in Australia. But again, I am not a normal architect, and even at Cisco, I was in an elite group of people, part of their business solutions architect that were I was a cross between an architect and a management consultant. So it was, that's the reason I was traveling so much, because I was doing so much consulting with it. But it is a great job. In today's world, you don't need to travel like you used to, and people are not. But understand, when you have a big job and there's very few people in the world that can do what you do, there will be travel, but it's going to be good travel. It's going to be travel with a corporate credit card. It's going to be travel and staying in 5-star hotels. It's going to be traveling with an unlimited budget to be able to have whatever you want, what you need, and you'll be comfortable. So it's not rough travel, but you will be doing some travel. So I hope I answered your question there, Wayne Lowe. Joe, what non-AWS certs would you suggest for someone who, like me, who likes cloud but likes networking and security? Currently working for an AWS, they heavily push, but I don't want them at all. So I would say CCNP, CCIE is a good one. And for security, CISSP. They're good certifications and they will help you completely. But lots of people push AWS. Each one of the clouds has their strengths and weaknesses. I'm not here to tell you which cloud provider to like or not like. I have challenges with a lot of what a lot of them have done, and I still like them because of the transformation they can provide. So the key is, I would suggest the CCIE or the CCNP if you want something more junior. And I would also suggest after that, the CISSP is a good one for security. You're more than welcome, Sabrish. What are the PST hours for the live classes? Well, PST hours are 6 a.m. on Tuesday, and they are 9 a.m. on Friday. I got to tell you, the reason is for this, Sabrish, is we have such a contingent in Europe, England, and India that we've chosen these times. And Africa, we've got a lot of students in these regions. So when we do 9 a.m. on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, which is 6 a.m. Pacific, it's 6 a.m. Pacific, but it's 8 a.m. in Texas, for which we've got a lot of people. It is 2 p.m. in the UK. It is 6:30 p.m. in India, and it's 3 p.m. in Europe. So we've got like Nigeria where it's 2 p.m. like England. We've got like Central European time, which gets us to the middle of Africa, where they're basically on the same time as, say, Central Europe. And then we still can cover, the East African region as well. And we've got students in Ethiopia. So that's why we've chosen these time zones, because they hit the majority of our students in the US, in the UK, in Central and South America, in Europe, and in the Middle East, and in India. We do have students in Asia, quite a few. It's not the best time for them, but my students in Asia tell me they're just so happy to participate whatever time it is. So hope I answered your question. 6 a.m. tomorrow and 9 a.m. on Friday. Joe, thanks for that. They're what I've been looking at, so it confirms you're on the mark. Excellent, Joe. Just want to get you your goals. Sonny, to get your foot in cloud architecture, do you actually need a certification, and does it matter which one? Yes, Sonny, I've been extremely prescriptive on which one it needs to be. So to get your foot into cloud architecture, the certification is not going to do it at all. At all. It's your knowledge of architecture, your knowledge of business, and your communication speech. The certification has nothing to do with it, but you do need a certification to get an interview. The only certifications that are going to be enough for you to get that interview when you have no background are the Azure Expert, the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, or the Google Professional Cloud Architect. It needs to be one of those three and nothing less. Associate certifications are not good enough. So don't get a bunch of associate certifications, get the professional ones. Nathan Richards, it's an interesting perspective. If you celebrate Sabbath on Saturday, how often do you have to work that day? If you truly celebrate the Sabbath, people have to understand your religion. And if you celebrate the Sabbath on Sunday, they still have to celebrate your religion. Now, here's the thing. When I worked as an architect for big companies, I got to tell you, it was mostly a Monday to a Friday job, almost exclusively. Now, I worked odd hours. See, I'm a martial artist. I like to swim. So I used to wake up real early, go run on the beach, get home from the beach, go work for a couple hours, then take a martial arts class, then go work for a couple more hours, then take some more martial arts classes, and then go work for a couple hours. And that was me because my workout was half of my life. So, to make it work, I did a lot of workouts along the work day, but that was just me. So you've got a lot of flexibility. How many times have I worked as an architect on the weekend? In a 25-year career, I'd say less than 50 times. I just didn't have to work that much on a weekend. Not as an architect. As an engineer, that's another story. Because as an engineer, things get broken and you're doing stuff in the middle of the night or on weekends. But as an architect, it's home with the family, watching TV, doing yoga, going to the beach, whatever you like. Not a problem. There's not a lot of weekends that you work as an architect. It's the best job in the world. So much easier than working as an engineer. What is my favorite cloud personally? I would say that if we're not building a Nutanix cloud or an OpenStack Ansible cloud, which is kind of my favorite, the kind that you build in the data center, we've got the most control, it's probably Azure. And the reason is Azure is the most business friendly to deal with. Microsoft is a great business partner. Microsoft is apolitical. Microsoft does not care what business you're in. All they care about is delivering an excellent cloud service. So I'd say my favorite cloud is Azure, though most of my experience is actually with AWS, which is another excellent cloud, and Google's an excellent cloud. Cisco's an excellent cloud. Palo Alto has an excellent cloud. Verizon has a cloud, which is an OpenStack cloud, which is my favorite. American Airlines has their OpenStack cloud. American Express uses the OpenStack cloud. My students all build an OpenStack cloud because I think it's the best out there. But you know what? All of these clouds are good, but I'd say Azure is my favorite public cloud because of their business friendliness. Sunny, I'm so happy we're able to answer your questions. You're more than welcome. That's why we do these sessions. That's why we do it, because I want to keep you guys from spending years going in the wrong direction. I want you all to have the best career possible. I've enjoyed so much being a cloud architect. I've had the best cloud architect career. And, when it comes to getting a cloud architect job or getting your first cloud architect job, I don't want you guys to struggle. I just want you to have an easy time. And that's why at Go Cloud Architect, we work so hard to be out here and answer your questions and do anything we can to help you. I remember what it's like when I started. I literally spent $20,000 on certifications 25 years ago. You know what? None of them got me hired. But I was able to do it because I had a really good job, but not everybody does. So I just want you all to know how to be successful. Who else has a question for me? Allen, Texas. That's a nice place there, B3 Collector. Spent a lot of time in Texas, and I've loved every last minute of it. Then again, I live in Florida, which is like Texas with the Atlantic Ocean versus the Gulf, which is still the Atlantic in some way, shape, or form. Okay, any other questions for me? Okay, well, I didn't realize it. I've been having so much fun because you guys were asking questions that we've been here answering your questions for 3 hours now. Oh, wait, we got another one. So let's answer that question because I love answering questions. Arasim Hans, from a job perspective, how much work is experience enough on the cloud to do the associate instead of a professional one? Well, I would say network experience, data center experience, and 3 to 5 years on the cloud, you'll be good with the associate. Otherwise, get a professional one. In other words, don't ever assume the associate is good enough unless you've got a Cisco certified internet expert or a 15-year to 20-year professional technology career. Any others for me? Okay, well, if there's no more questions, let me tell you about a few things. On November 1st, we have an announcement that's going to help you all so much get Cloud Architect hired, and we're really excited about it. We'll let you know as we get a lot sooner to it. Gaurav, if you got a question, please feel free to ask it. So I wanted to let you know that on November 1st, there will be a special. I'm also going to let you know that we've got some special training that's coming out really soon. And also in about 2 weeks, we are going to do a training class, and it's going to be completely free. It's going to be an AWS Advanced Networking or a CCNA. Come to our website and vote for it, and we'll do it. We're going to have one of them. Right now, we're not sure who the winner is going to be, AWS Advanced Networking or CCNA, but they're 2 good certifications, and we want you to have them. Granted, we're more of a Cisco certification fan, but here's the thing. We still want you to know how to do the VPCs and set them up and design them, and that's what we kind of like, that AWS Advanced Networking, even if it's super, super, super basic. Live, Tech, Sleep as a software engineer is the roadmap to become a DevOps engineer as a solution architect. If you're a software engineer, no. If you're not a software engineer, yes. Live, Tech, Sleep 911, I'm going to tell you it's going to take you about the same time to develop either one of these careers. The only difference is the cloud architect career has much more upward mobility, a much higher salary, and a much better career progression, but same level of difficulty. It's just a matter of which one you choose to do. Both are great jobs. And Jesse, if there's another one. Okay, from Sunny, one more from me. For the professional certification from Google, for example, is there are learning passes and courses that are enough preparation for the exam? Look, Sunny, passing an exam and actually getting certified and being hired are 2 different things. There is a book for $30, Sunny. It's made by Cybex on passing the certified solution architect. Passing the Google Professional Cloud Architect. Let me see if I have it. I can show it to you because I read it over the weekend and then I took the exam and passed it. But then again, for me, I already knew the cloud. So I'm trying to see if I can find it real easily for you. It's a Cybex book. Well, anyway, I'm drawing a blank finding it right now. I've got a very messy library. But what I will tell you is for the Google Professional Cloud Architect, buy the $30 Cybex book. It's the best preparation material in the world. That's the learning path. Buy the book and read it. And anything that you don't know, from the network and the data center, go look it up on the Cisco website. Gaurav will be looking forward to you working with you. So, when you're ready, we'll work with you. You've done the free training of ours. So that, realistically speaking, is going to give you a really good baseline of the fundamentals. And then when you come in, we'll be able to hit the ground running and get you really capable, really competent, and hired as quick as possible. So good job, Gaurav. Wonderful. I'm glad you did our preparatory videos. We work really hard to provide the best free training that's out there. I'd like to give our things away better for free that are better than everybody else is paid. But when we do paid, it's really something special. Lift Tech Sleep 91. And your course will be the live classes in the cloud in the telecommunications. Yes, absolutely. We have to cover cloud. Cloud is everywhere. Telecommunications is half of the cloud. So of course. This is not a certification program. This is a how to become a cloud architect program. There is a massive difference. Certification is the name of the service and how to configure it. We're all about how to do the job so we can get you hired. So of course it's covered. Any last questions for me? Okay, well, if anybody has any questions, they can actually call our office number. Just drop the number for our office. Jesse from my team will put a Cloud Architect Career Development course list link, as well as a 20% off coupon course in case anybody wants to join us. Our next class is tomorrow, and we'd love to work with you. And other than that, if there's no last questions, I will see you all. I will come back on Wednesday at 9 a.m. in case anybody else has questions. And on Friday, I'm going to bring a really great professional from Palo Alto, and he's going to talk about lessons on leadership. We'll have him on our show. Liv Techsleep, can you describe career progression starting as an entry-level solution architect? Well, here's the thing. Let's assume you take a solution architect role. No one says it has to be entry-level. My last student that graduated took a senior solution architect role at AWS, and it was his first cloud job. It doesn't have to be there. Live Tech, Eat, Sleep 911. Here's the thing. It's based upon your knowledge. If you're knowledgeable, there is no entry level. My first job was a senior network engineer, and I never worked in tech before. So the career progression is this. Be great. Have incredible design skills. Know the network, know the data center. Build your business acumen, your communication skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence, presentation, and writing skills. You're not an entry-level solution architect that way. You're just a solution architect. And if you continue to develop those business acumen skills, you'll go from solution architect to senior solution architect to principal and distinguished rapidly. So it depends. If you focus on the tech, it's going to take you 20 years to get there. If you focus on the leadership piece, it'll take you 2 years to senior. The progression is based upon what you choose to do. The skill for the architect is what I told you. It's transformation. If you can learn how to transform businesses in a year, you'll be a senior architect in a year. If you focus all on the tech and the configuration and the DevOps and the SysOps and this, it'll take you 20 years. So the career progression is up to you. It's up to you getting the right skills. It's up to as fast as you can learn it. I was a lead architect in 6 months, but the first time I started tech. I'm not joking. I earned more as a lead architect 25 years ago than I did by practicing medicine within 6 months of tech. Here's the reason. I learned the most valuable skills. So Live Tech Sleep 911, I'm going to tell you one more time. The most valuable skills for tech are transformation, meaning your ability to design end-to-end solution. That is what decides your progression. And the more emotionally intelligent, the better your soft skills are, the better your communication skills are, the better your business acumen, your ROI modeling, the greater the transformation that you can do, the faster your career progression. Focus on the tech, take you 20 years. Focus on the leadership, take you 1. It's your choice. It's up to you. It's based upon where you spend your time. If you're a certification junkie, it'll take you 20 years. If you want to rapidly escalate it, like I did, I basically studied soft skills, leadership skills, soft skills, leadership skills, communication skills, presentation skills. Spent $250,000 in about a year, and it paid for it, literally speaking, in 12 months. It paid it all back. So you're asking about career progression. I'm telling you, it's as fast as you want it to be. As fast as you want it to be. But, the real key for you, the speed, is having the right skills. It's kind of like training a martial artist. You know, you can train a martial artist, you can send them to the right training camp, and in a week they can learn more than if they were slow for the next 3 years. But that is really based upon that artist and what they learn. So lift, tech, sleep 911. I don't want you to think I'm being very firm. It's just that I care very much. And the career progression can be so fast. It was super fast for me. There was this nice young man, Mitchell, I worked with. By the time he was 22 years old, he had a very, very, very senior position in one of the world's top 10 tech companies. He's not the first one. I worked with a kid that basically was an associate systems engineer that was basically hired fresh out of school with no background. I mentored him. When we spoke, me and Carell said, I don't want to be Mr. Engineer forever. I want a much better role. And I said, guess what? We're going to do this, this, this. I told him what to walk, what to talk. He left his junior engineering role and he was a product sales specialist with 4 times the salary inside of 6 months because he focused on the right skills. Live, Tech, Sleep 911. It's about knowing exactly what you want and running so hard and fast to the goal that no one can stop you. Do that. There is no entry level. Do that. You are just having a great career forever. Artem, I'm assuming I'm reading, I'm not an expert with Cyrillic reading, but I can read Greek, and it looks like an Artem that you're using, so I want to make sure that I'm right. It says your course sounds very good. You're requesting your company cover the price for it. That's absolutely good. There was an Artem that actually sent me an email that when we replied to the email, the person's mail was full. So if that's you and you didn't get a response back, that's the reason why. We did attempt to email you back, but your messages were full if you're that same Artem. And then again, I'm reading your Cyrillic, not in English, so I could be reading it incorrectly. But yes, if your company wants to pay for it, that would be great. Live, Tech, Sleep 911, we look forward to working with you. Asim, are the live classes recorded? Yes. And when can you access the classes after enrollment? Instantly. So like, I think about 10 people signed up today. They instantly started having access to the course, and then they'll be in the first live session tomorrow. And of course, we'll record that live session because, you know, you might want to go back and listen to it again, or you might not be able to attend all the sessions. Oh, good. First, I'm very happy that I read your name, Artem, correctly. And I'm also very, very, your videos are clear and well-explained logic. Thank you so much. I've done this for as long as I can remember. You finally understand what you need to learn. That's why we make so many of these videos, Artem. We do it for that following reason. We want to know you know exactly what to know, exactly what to learn, so you can get there as fast as possible. I'm good you received our email. So happy. Okay, well, it's actually 5 o'clock. We've been going at this question thing for 3 hours. So, Jesse, I think we should end this conversation. But everyone, I will be back on Wednesday at 9 a.m. And if you're one of my students or choose to be between now and then, tomorrow, I will see you at 9 a.m. And we will have a party doing all kinds of cool system design. And it's going to be a good one tomorrow. It's going to have lots of networking, lots of BGP, lots of servers, lots of containers. It's gonna be a fun one. But then again, I love tech. I can't believe people actually pay me to actually work with tech. You know, when I did medicine, it was work. But this is just fun. I mean, we actually get paid as architects to design tech and talk to people. I mean, that's not work. And then we get paid to take people to dinner and go eat at nice restaurants. This is not work. Now, granted, I'm making it sound really fun because, you know, I practice medicine. I had a job. I worked hard. And then I worked as a network engineer. I worked hard. And then I became an architect, and it was like, wow, this is life. So everyone, I want you to have the best life. Build the career, your dreams, whatever it is, just go for it. Don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anybody hold you back. Never accept no for an answer. If someone says no to you, say, yes, I can, and go run, 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 and go win. Do this, and you'll always be successful. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again on Friday. I got lots of cool videos coming for you in the next few weeks, too. Take care, everybody. It was so nice to see you.